All right. We good? So, first of all, I know I say this pretty frequently, but I'm not in my usual setup. I am back. Well, you guys don't really know where I was in the first place, right? You guys can hear me, right? Echo. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Fixed? No echo. No echo now, I think. Yeah, we're done with the echo. Let's move on from the echo, okay? The audio is crispy clear now. Actually, it's not, because I don't have my mic, I don't have my webcam. Yeah, right now I traveled a little bit, so I'm back at my parents' place for the week. Yeah, Z and Stampede. I know I still have to do those Tittle TTs. Thanks, Tittle TTs. I know I still have to do Film Z and Stampede. One thing at a time. We just got good internet. There's no echo. How can the new camera... There's no echo. There's no echo. What are you guys talking about? It's fixed. It's literally fixed. I think I'm good at this point. Yeah, there's no echo. All right. Anyway, I forget that you guys are like, I don't know, like 30 seconds behind me or something like that. So, no, I'm back. I'm visiting my parents for the week. Really had to come back to, my hometown. I guess we can call it my hometown. I had to come back from my hometown for more reasons than that. But, yeah, I'm here for the week. Then I'll be back with my usual setup next week. So that's why the audio is worse. That's why the webcam is bad. And really, that's why the background looks like the way it does, right? Morge, why are you in your bathroom, says MF Bond. No, I don't think I am. But, yeah, main thing is we have good Ethernet, right? We have Ethernet again, LAN cable, so internet's good. That's the main thing that matters, right? Kamara Mitchell, thanks a lot. Do you think Luffy and Zoro will get new power-ups? Yeah, so, I mean, Luffy and Zoro in particular, I think... what do you call it? Luffy and Zoro in particular, I think the power-ups that they're set to master are... Let's say Zoro. Zoro in particular, I think the power-up that he's set to get is fairly clear to me. I think it's definitely Conqueror's Haki related, right? I think it's definitely Conqueror's Haki related. Maroket says, hopefully not a funeral. Maroket, you are unfortunately not that far off, so I won't get any further into it than that, but it's not a funeral, but it's similar. It's hard to explain. But anyway, what was I saying? Zoro. Yeah, Luffy and Zoro. So Luffy, I think at the very least, obviously, Conqueror's Haki, very important for him. I think that's going to be the main part. Junho Wong says your parents' house's internet is better than your own. No, it's good here because I have Ethernet. My internet is infinitely better than the shitty internet that they have here. But I'm connected to them via Ethernet, so it's all okay. All right. What was my train of thought? Luffy and Zoro's power-ups. Yeah. So Sanji looks like it's his Germa stuff, right? Zoro, to me, it is Conqueror's Haki, and to me, the Zoro power-up seems fairly simple. I think it's just mastering Ashura. Because Ashura, we saw what it's capable of doing. Ashura could literally cut Kaido, which is an extremely rare feat, literally not done by anyone else in the One Piece universe since Odin. So, Ashura could cut Kaido, big deal. And then Luffy, obviously, has gotten his Conqueror's Haki. I think with Luffy, I do personally believe that Gear 5th is on its way. I think that's the last thing that's needed for him to push him over the edge versus Kaido. With Zoro, I think it's more so just being able to actively use Conqueror's Haki, like consciously, because I get the sense, and I put this out in a video on Zoro and Conqueror's Haki, which is that after he cut Kaido, which is that my belief is that Zoro, when he uses Ashura, it's not fully a conscious decision by him. I mean, I think it's kind of like going in the zone. That's how I feel like it is with Zoro, because the times he's used Conquerors in the past have been, for example, against Kaku, right? Against Kaku when he got really enraged over the Robin situation, against the Pacifista when he was really on the verge of falling unconscious and he had to do something to push the crew over the edge. And then finally against Kaido, when Zoro was again on his last legs. I get the sense that it's when Zoro's spirit is pushed to a certain point that he's able to break out Ashura. I think that his improvement in that would be able to be would just be pulling that out on a more frequent, more regular basis easily, right? Like being able to fight an entire fight in Ashura. I think that would be a huge power up for him. Andrew says the stream will fail like how the raid will fail. Yeah, look, if the stream has to fail to help the raid fail, then I'm all for it. No Brain says, hold up. No Brain says, in the anime, Izzo said they call it Onigashima now, not Marco. Does this change anything in your opinion? I thought it was Marco who said it, but does it really change anything? I guess maybe that could be some more, that would mean that it's more Wano related, I suppose. But not necessarily, right? Does it really matter? Because Marco and Izzo, both members of Whitebeard's crew, why would it matter that much if it's Marco versus Izzo? I guess, yeah, if it's Izzo, then it might make it more so that, if it's Izzo, it might mean more so that this is like Wano knowledge, that this is what they call it. Like it was called something back in the day. Versus if it was Marco, then that would mean that it's more so Whitebeard knowledge. Although Izzo also was on Whitebeard's crew. So it's a little bit tricky. People talking about the stream failing again, listen, that's a nice sell you're in. They even give you cabinets. I feel like I'm like the avatar of streaming, okay? Because the avatar, he had to master 4 elements, right? Like water, earth, wind, fire. That's all of them, right? Water, earth, wind, fire. He had to master all of these elements. And so I have to get all of these elements down one by one. So some days we have good Ethernet, but we have good internet, but no microphone. Like last stream when I had the Ethernet, but then not enough ports to use a mic. Then sometimes we got the nice webcam. Other times we have the nice background. And then sometimes we got a few good elements going at once, but it's rare that we get them all together. But I'm very close, right? All we need is for me to have Ethernet, mic at the same time, webcam at the same time, and good background. I have a good feeling about next stream. I think next stream will have it all down. Keep in mind, for the avatar, for Aang, it took him 112 years to master all the elements. So, just think about that. Think about how fast I'm putting this shit together compared to Aang, right? No Brains, message retracted. I wonder what he said. GC Geek Army says this is 2008 YouTube vibes. Yeah, pretty much. Nothing wrong with 2008 YouTube. That was when Smosh was going around. Was Fred still big back then? I don't remember. Tiddle TT says, will Movie Morge have a separate Patreon from OP Morge? I have no Patreon in mind for Movie Morge at the moment. At the moment, Movie Morge, let's just get it off the ground. Let's just get it rolling. The Pirate Hero says he's the avatar, but he forgets streaming principles instead of mastering them well. Yeah, well, that's true. Usually once Aang got an element down, he kind of just got it down, and then, we kind of moved along from there. I don't think he, got water down, and then next season he forgot about water but picked up earth. He never forgot wind, that's for sure. So, I'm still putting it together at a faster rate than Aang was. Again, Aang, he was in an iceberg for, a century. Patrick Malone says, Crackpot theory number 1. Robin will use her new demon form to fight Lucci herself, maybe with help from Usopp. I just don't know about that. I don't think so. I don't really have much more to say about that. Yeah, and Aang was frozen for 100 years, LMAO. I show up to stream regularly, every week, except for some weeks. But almost every week I show up to stream. Where was Aang? Aang just hid in an iceberg for 100 years. So who would you rather have? Aang or me? Right? Who would you rather have streaming for you? Silver says, lol, he said Fred. Damn, I feel old. Yeah, who remembers Fred? Probably everyone remembers Fred. If you don't remember Fred, then I guess you're young. Maybe I'm old. I'm only 20... I'm about to turn 26. Fuck, maybe I'm old. Miriam says, hello, everyone. Hey, Miriam. David Babam says, do you think Shanks will be the one to stop the Marines? What is your take on that? So, because I always have a finger on the pulse of the community, right? I know what people want to talk about. All right? So there's a video coming out on... This one will come out next Tuesday. So not this Tuesday, next Tuesday. A video on the Marines and the different options that I basically, people are saying Aang, someone said Zuko. Rixer or Maddie Wolf said Zuko. Red X says he hated Fred. Yeah, that makes sense. Trevdad says, wait, you're only 26. Yeah, how old do you want me to be? I'm only 26. In fact, I look younger. I look like I'm 22 or 23. Am I right, guys? So I could pass for probably 21. I could probably show up at a bar without my ID and, they'd be like, hey, you look too young to get in here, right? Look very youthful. But, what was I saying? Yeah, Fred. Marines. So I have a video coming out next Tuesday on the different routes that I see happening for the Marines. I didn't really talk about Shanks. I didn't talk about outside intervention. I don't know how much outside intervention will play a role here. I would rather it not be Shanks. But, outside intervention is a possibility. Kaka Krabby Patty, actually really interesting possibility he just threw out. He said, chances of Momo dropping Onigashima on the Marine ships. That's a funny but interesting idea. But then how do the Straw Hats get out? Because at some point the Straw Hats and the Alliance have to exit Onigashima, and then I guess Momo picks it back up and goes and drops it on the Marines. I don't know about that. But that's a funny way to use it. It would be interesting. Throwback to Fujitora dropping basically a city of rubble on the forces that showed up to Dressrosa to attack Luffy and Law. Hazard and Gibson said, Morge, what are you looking forward to most? Dritz's big video? What type of question is this? Hazard and Gibson said, hey Morge, what do you looking forward to most? Dritz's big video or Morge's MarineFord analysis? I'm Morge. Why are you... What do you... I literally don't understand your question. Are you looking forward to Dritz's... Morge, are you looking forward to Dritz's big video or Morge's video? What is this question? I guess I could say Dritz's video because I already know what my video is, and my video is a pain in the ass for me. Not in like a oh I don't like the video kind of way, but it's more so just it's like, do you guys know how much like I'm having to write for 2 channels at the moment, plus do the MarineFord analysis, plus I need to do the Film Z and Stampede stuff, plus I need to do a Bollywood dance. Just kidding, that one was never a goal. But I do need to do all these things. So the MarineFord analysis basically is like, it's not exact. I'm not going to say it's like an albatross hanging around my neck, but it's just like, do a little bit of work on it, go back. Do a little bit of work on it, go back, etc. And it's just been taking forever. So, and the MarineFord video, I already know what's said in it, so there's nothing to look forward to. So I'm looking forward to Dritz's video. I'll probably do a reaction to that. It'll be fun. But Dritz's video is going to be 5 fucking hours. So am I really going to do a reaction to that? I might do a reaction to like a segment or something like that. I'm not going to do a full reaction. How do you think, Trevor Roberts says, how do you think Zoro versus Mihawk will be set up? Do you think it will be a duel, or could there be stakes involved? Yeah, I can talk about that. Oh, Clyde says the joke is that both videos are never coming out. Oh, that's funny stuff. Hilarious. I'll prove you guys wrong. Eventually. But, what were we saying? Oh, Zoro versus Mihawk. Yeah, my opinion is that Zoro versus Mihawk, I don't think that's Zoro's final fight of the series. I don't think that it's the final fight of the series. So, to me, it's basically like, how do I say this? I think that Zoro and Mihawk, it's going to be more so when Oda feels like having it happen in the story. I don't think Oda needs to set up any specific stakes or situation for it to happen. I've been of the opinion, because I think that next time that Zoro and Mihawk meet, they don't need an excuse to have a duel, right? So they don't need an excuse. So Oda doesn't have to set up a conflict in particular. I think it's just next time Zoro and Mihawk meet, that will be the time that they both like head off to their own location or whatever and have their duels separate from the rest of the Straw Hats. Maybe the Straw Hats watch. I don't know exactly what the situation would be. I think with Elbaf, what I talked about before is that I personally believe that with Mihawk exiting the Shichibukai and basically being hunted again, I personally believe that he would not join Shanks' crew, but maybe just like, hang around, chill around Shanks' crew for a while, which would be not because he needs to or anything, or he's reliant on them, but just because, like, it's better than being bothered by the Marines all the time. Just hang around Shanks. Mihawk has total freedom or whatever. I personally feel that he might just, like, go chill at Shanks' place for a while, right? He's not going to get to just chill at his home, right? He's not going to just get to stay at that island perpetually. So if Mihawk feels like it, I do feel like he'll just be around Shanks' crew. So I personally feel, if you go watch my Elbaf video again, I give a lot of reasons why I feel like that's an arc that's sort of the, I guess you could say, coming of age arc for a lot of the Straw Hats, in my opinion. I feel like that's when Luffy will meet with Shanks again, and this time have his conflict with him, his battle with him, Usopp and Yasopp, and I think Zoro and Mihawk, and I think a lot of things kind of fit together, and I think Elbaf is the perfect playing field for that to happen, essentially. Baba says, do you still think Shanks will get a significant hockey upgrade? And what do you think happens with Usopp here fourth? So again, videos coming out. So this, I told you, next Tuesday is a video on what happens with the Marines, in my opinion. This Wednesday, it got delayed slightly. This Wednesday, a video on Shanks and his power-up should be coming out. At this point, it doesn't look like Sanji's necessarily going to get a hockey upgrade. I hope he still does somehow. Maybe not this arc, but over the course of, the story, I really hope that Shanks' main upgrade is not just the Germa. I hope we see him improve his armament, or particularly his observation. I still think that video that I put out on why Sanji would improve his observation hockey in a specific route still holds true. So I'm looking forward to that, ideally. But then at the same time, I'm not going to say for sure that Wano, he's still going to get a hockey upgrade, because it looks like the Germa upgrade is a really big deal as is. Brandon Herkes says, hey Morge, I want to hear your expanded thoughts on Sanji and his new power-up. I'm a little conflicted about it since Whole Cake Island. Brandon, great point you just brought up. Wait till Wednesday, you will get a full video dropped on it. Alright? So just wait till Wednesday, please. I do have a full video coming out on my thoughts on it. I guess the gist of it at the moment is that Oda can't really skirt around this issue, so he really does have to address it. But I like the fact that it feels like it could have been planned by Oda. It seems planned by Oda to have stretched it out over 2 arcs, rather than having it just come to a close in the Whole Cake Island. So this seems very intentional on his part to me. So I'm actually very excited for what's going to come with Sanji, because there's a few things that I've noticed that make it seem to me that Oda does have a very clear idea in mind, that he has a direction he always wanted to go with Sanji and this power-up since Whole Cake Island. Power Ranger says, before Ace and Blackbeard fought in the anime, Ace said, you should know the rules, having lived twice as much as others. Is there a deep meaning to this phrase? Shanks also said, enjoys life twice as much. I don't know, because, I mean, in the Ace case, you could interpret it like that, but in the Ace case, it might just be a little different in that, like, Blackbeard's literally, like, twice as old as Ace, so at face value, that quote just makes sense. But, maybe, you know, in retrospect, we could say, okay, maybe Ace was talking about, the strange, Blackbeard never sleeping, etc. No Brain says, what do you think Big Mom's role is going to be at the end of the story? Look, Big Mom's a enigma at the moment. If Oda's really going to have Big Mom go down to Kid, that feels like a very arbitrary way to end her story. It just feels as though it sacrifices any storyline behind her character just to give Kid a fight, rather than having set up some serious backstory or background or personal motivation for these two to hash it out, right? Obviously, we know Kid took down a couple of ships in the background, but early in Fishman Island, but like, there's no way you would say that, Big Mom versus Kid, that was a conflict that's been set up for a while or anything like that. So I personally still believe that Luffy takes down Big Mom at the end of the day, and I don't think that Kid is going to be the one to take down Big Mom. I do think that Kid's going to get another round against Kaido, but I don't think Kid's going to take down Big Mom. So that's the gist of it, but, those are the things I think, and I have to acknowledge that at the story at the moment, the straightforward answer is that it looks like Kid's going to take down Big Mom, Kid-in-law. So, I don't know, but I don't believe that makes sense based on the way things have been set up. PD Boy says, Luffy told Big Mom, I'll kick your ass all over the New World and has been clowning her since. Is it possible we won't see a direct 1v1? So that goes off the last question. No, I still believe that Luffy will fight Big Mom, because this time it's not just a case of, like, Luffy mentioning once that, hey, I'm going to beat you up. Luffy has been taught the Luffy-Big Mom personal conflict that goes all the way back to Fishman Island. These two have, like, a very, very personal history, right? Like, a very, very personal history. So, it's not even, like, the number of times Luffy and Big Mom have butted heads, and Luffy's made it clear that I want to take you down, and Big Mom's made it clear I want to take you down. It's just so many times throughout the series. Whole Cake Island just added, like, if they, like, all the gasoline that was on the floor from Fishman Island between the two, Whole Cake Island just, like, threw a giant spark on it, put a flamethrower to it, honestly, and, like, there's a longer running history and personal animosity between Luffy and Big Mom than Luffy and Kaido. So I just think it would be very, very strange if anyone but Luffy takes her down. If Kid does it, I don't even know, I have no idea why Oda would go that route, other than he just felt like he needed to force in an opponent for Kid last minute. X-Rate says, every mythical zone fruit we've seen so far has existed in Japanese mythology, yet people are still... Oh, shoot, I scrolled too bad. What happened? What did I do? I'll get to you. Give me a second. X-Ray says, every mythical zone we have seen so far has existed in Japanese mythology, yet people still speculating all sorts will be seen, in your opinion. I didn't know. Is the phoenix fruit from Japanese mythology? I didn't know. I generally don't know. I didn't think the phoenix fruit was from Japanese mythology, but I don't know. I'm not the best person to... I'll tell you guys every day of the week, I'm not the best person to ask on Japanese mythology stuff because I just don't... That's not something that I super duper look into for these sort of things, okay? Because Oda often draws, in my opinion, Oda often draws on that stuff as inspiration, and obviously in the Wano arc, that's going to be a bigger deal than in any previous arc. But in the past, I've just never looked that much into, Japanese lore. I usually it's the trickle down for me. So when other people talk about it, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, that's how I learn about that stuff. And I never pretend like, oh, I knew that Yamato's mythical zone form was, traditionally a deity figure or anything like that. So, Japanese lore, I know probably not that much more than you guys. Wheezy Bird says, King Lightning said Sanji could become the new king of Germa. Thoughts? Also, if that comes true, could that mean Sanji gets conquerors? Sanji's character does not make sense for conquerors by any means at all. He's never been written like that. Again, I think most people just want Sanji to get conquerors because Zoro has conquerors. I think if Zoro did not have conquerors, most people would not be talking about Sanji getting conquerors. Okay? That's my opinion. As for Sanji becoming the new king of Germa, that's an interesting thought. I do think that the Germa storyline, there's a second half to it with Sanji, especially with what's being stressed so far recently. So I'm not going to say that Sanji can't become the king of Germa. It's just that he so thoroughly rejects that idea that, maybe it's even off. I could see Reiju leading Germa at some point. But honestly, at the end of the day, by the end of the day, Germa wasn't even that bad. End of Whole Cake, they were absolute assholes and pieces of shit for the majority of the arc. But, end of the day, they're risking their lives not once, not twice, but I think 3 straight times, right? So if you look at it, at the Tea Party, they risked their lives for the Stride. Then when Sanji was saving Luffy at Cacao Island, again. And then while they're trying to get away with the Sun Pirates and everything like that, backing them up, yet again, Germa's trying to save their ass. So, it's just tricky. It's hard to say. Germa's pretty shitty. Obviously, they're really, really shitty. Judge is a shitty father. Shittiest father in One Piece, probably. Is he? Kaido's pretty shitty, too. But, it's not like... I don't know. I felt like... It's not like, to me, I'm like, well, I need to see Judge dethroned and Sanji take his place or something like that. So it's an interesting idea, but I just don't know. Bot Niner says, isn't Sanji being a normal human but keeping up Luffy and Zoro part of his appeal? Yes, in my opinion, it was. We don't want him to be a robot like Frankie. Yes, I agree. It's just unfortunate that, to me, I think that that's just something that Oda's moving past at this point. So, there's multiple arguments that come out of this, which is basically, one, there's the simple character conflict part of it, of okay, Sanji accepting the abilities, what does that mean for his character based on his past history with his family, right? And then there's the other part of it, which is the reader's preference, which is we liked Sanji because he was a normal human who was able to keep up with guys like Luffy and Zoro, right? Who are just freaks of nature, pretty much, right? And Sanji doesn't even care about fighting that much. He values cooking above that, yet he's able to at least keep up, not necessarily be as strong, but keep up, right? So I do think that was an appeal for Sanji's character, but I don't know. I think at the very least, kind of just got to accept that maybe he's just not going to be written that way anymore, I can't really level that as a criticism or not. I do think it's going against part of the appeal of the character, but I think a lot of Sanji fans are just okay with it. So, maybe if people just let it slide and they're like, okay, that's just who Sanji is now, then maybe people forget about it. But, I personally don't like it, right? It's a personal thing. I don't like it. Cameron Mitchell says, do you think we will get a Zoro Mihawk flashback? I hope so. If we got one during Pika, I would love to see one against King, right? Pika warranted a Zoro flashback. So I would love if King warrants a Zoro flashback. I think that'd be very fitting. Adrian Hakeem says, I believe that CP0 fights won't happen in Wano, but in the Marijoa arc. They've set up how the Strides trust in Robin's strength, and by then I think Lucci might be a little too weak for a Luffy matchup. Lucci should be too weak for a Luffy matchup right now. There's no universe where I believe that Lucci would be splitting the sky with Kaido, as Luffy is right now, right? So Lucci should be too weak for a Luffy matchup, in my opinion, at this moment in time, okay? So CP0 fights, I don't know about CP0. I've always personally believed that the CP0 fights would be like, I don't know if the Strats fight CP0 necessarily. I've personally always chalked it up to like, okay, it seems to me like CP0 might be being saved for the Revolutionaries. We would see the Revolutionaries versus CP0 at the end of the day, and that provides a nice endgame matchup for the Revolutionaries, whereas we would be more likely to see the Strats versus the Marines. So that would be a nice little way to split it up. So that's been my opinion, but we could see Strats versus CP0 again. I just feel like it might be a little repetitive with, Strats versus CP9 being one of, if not the most iconic One Piece storylines. So then we get CP0 again. I don't know. Catherine Griffin says, Big Mom will meet her end in Elbaf. Catherine, I personally disagree. I think that things have been set up for her to go down here. If she carries over to Elbaf, I think it'll just... How much Big Mom in the story do we want? Like, it's not even just that. I just think that story structure-wise, I think Oda has generally been building up to one single big climax where both Kaido and Big Mom go down, right? So, and I think that it is this arc, the Wano arc. No brains. For my Big Mom question, I meant like after Wano. I mean, yeah, that's similar, right? I still just don't think that Big Mom is going down after Wano. I personally believe that, it's Wano. It's just Wano. I personally believe that Wano is the arc. The Pirate Hero says, Miss Super Chat, thanks, man. What do you think of my favorite character, Kuzan, and what do you think when do you think we'll get to see him again? And that's by Silver of the Deep. Kuzan, mystery figure, right? I wonder if we'll get to see him again when, if we ever cut away to what Smoker and Vegapunk are doing, I wonder if we get to see Kuzan involved in that. I personally don't think we'll get to see him in Wano. I really hope we actually... Okay, two options with Kuzan. Either he's involved with whatever the Blackbeard Pirates are doing right now, with my personal belief the Blackbeard Pirates have headed to Whole Cake Island. Either we get to see Kuzan involved with them, or he's with Smoker and Vegapunk and such. That's my two guesses. Ryan K says, do you think Zoro will master his Conqueror's coding versus King? Also, you think it's possible that he duels Shanks before Mihawk? I don't think he duels Shanks before Mihawk. I hope he masters his Conqueror's coding versus King, and I hope that... Here's my hope, that basically... Let's say this is the final... Okay, let's say, for the sake of argument, that this is the final matchup Zoro's getting, okay? Final matchup that he's getting for the arc, the raid doesn't fail, hypothetically, right? Zoro's fighting King, it's just going to end here. My hope is that this fight gets to a point where Zoro can kind of master his Conqueror's Haki and use it on a whim. As soon as he uses Ashura, in my opinion, he would defeat King. So it would be a conscious activation of it, and I think it might be his first, very deliberate activation of Ashura at a whim in the series. And then my hope is that we get a second part where the Strats are fighting against Kaido, right? And I put out a whole video on that, why I believe that we'll get the Strats versus Kaido, etc. And I hope that Zoro gets another round against Kaido where now he can use Ashura consistently, and we see how he does against Kaido in that case. Andrew Lulavar says, personally, I think Big Mom actually has a chance of turning good by the end of the series. Everyone should live together in harmony isn't evil. No, I get you, but it's also her view of what that means is not, it's a bit of a, it's a bit of a warped view, right? So Big Mom, she basically has a demented vision of what everyone living in harmony together means, right? So if you go back to the song that she sang in chapter 900 of One Piece, chapter 900 of One Piece, if you go back to the song that she sang, it's kind of batshit crazy, right? So her vision of everyone living happily is basically everyone being ruled by her, under her thumb, and she'll make everyone be happy. And that's a key difference. So I do think that part of the, that's part of the purpose for villains, right, to a degree, in that Luffy provides a nice counterpart. So I'm sure everyone will live in harmony by the end of the series thanks to Luffy and his vision of harmony, which is a great deal of freedom, fairness, etc., right? Versus Big Mom's vision, which is everyone will live in harmony because I'm going to make them be happy. Now, as to whether she becomes good by the end of the series or not, I've seen arguments for and against. I personally don't think so, but I understand why people do believe that, and I won't say it's an invalid belief. Power Ranger says, can Whitebeard break the barrier wall with his quake/vibrations? Glass is weak against vibrations. It depends how much Oda wants to apply that real-world logic to it. I would say maybe with repeated attacks, but as far as we know, the barrier fruit, it might just be, it actually legitimately might be unbreakable. As far as we know, it might just be unbreakable. I mean, it makes sense. Devil fruits are often written in that way, in sort of, you know, if it's a devil fruit with one very specific purpose, then it's possible it can just always do that purpose. The Pirate Hero says, I'm starting a copium circle that Sanji's healing is coming from newcomer cooking and not Germa. Anyone can join because delusion is more fun in groups. Man, Look, I would also... The newcomer training that Sanji got, that's one of the... it's not an issue necessarily, but it's just like Luffy's training, Zoro's training, those are clearly heavily influencing. Like, we regularly see them come up and at least somewhat referenced, it seems like. At least with Zoro, we got that Pika moment and stuff. With Sanji's training, it doesn't... It feels like what we saw of him out right off the gates in Fishman Island. That does feel, like I learned the Skywalk because I had to run a lot. Obviously, the cooking that we got to see featured in Punk Hazard. But, I don't know, I feel like Sanji's cooking isn't necessarily valued, or we don't really get flashbacks to it nearly as much as Luffy or Zoro or anything like that. So, it's hard to tell. I do wish that we got something a little more out of it. So, I'd be fine with... I think I've come to terms with the fact that Sanji is going to be getting these Germa power-ups. It is what it is, but I would have also liked to have seen Sanji flashing back at some point to his newcomer training and what he got out of that, right? Because the newcomer training was something that, is so fundamentally against, the way that Sanji lives, and, it was so fundamentally against his values, it would have been interesting to see kind of his personal experiences of that. Young Dai Li says, do you think Dragon's Cat tattoos could relate to the Shandians? That is an interesting idea. I had not thought about that. I think that could definitely be possible. It could also just be some cool design that Oda wanted to throw in to show the dragon's a bit of a rebel, But that's definitely an interesting idea. I think I'd have to take a look, because Viper has tattoos... I don't know, I'd have to take a bit of a closer look at what the Shandians' tattoos look like. Power Ranger says, why didn't Kaido go for Yuruj when they were both in the sky? It would have taken 10 seconds. Might have just been that... that wasn't I think... Okay, so Kaido, at that moment in time, he wasn't really paying much attention to outside stuff. From Kaido's perspective, Yuruj is probably just an ant, or practically a prop in the background, right? Kaido's just walking around, he's like, let me try this, let me see if I die doing this, right? Plummets to the ground, hits the ground, gets up. He doesn't even acknowledge the other supernova that are there on the ground, right? He's just yelling about, let's start the world's greatest war, and then he gets around to them. Now, in retrospect, we know that Apu had actually betrayed them and had let Kaido in on where their location was, but it's clear that Kaido wasn't that particularly concerned about them, right? So he's not really looking around or paying that much attention to, who's there. When he lands, he doesn't even really address them or anything like that. It's after, he lands, realizes he didn't die, yells about, how he wants to start the world's greatest war. Then it seems like he was like, okay, you guys are here, you can join my crew if you're, smart, or I could just beat you to death here. And they mostly went with him, except for Kid and Killer. No Brain says, then there is the argument of why Kaido didn't make Yuruj join his crew, if he's going around forcing supernovas to join. But maybe, he just wasn't in the mode of paying attention at that point, and it's hard to tell if, how much you can tell how strong a character is based on Haki. The gap between Kaido and Yuruj may just have been so big that Kaido didn't really notice that Yuruj is even a noteworthy character. No Brains, thanks a lot. I like the thought of Sanji trying his best to not use Germa powers during his fight against Queen, like how he'll never kick women. Thoughts? I like that a lot. That's really cool. That's a really cool idea. Guys, shouts to No Brains. I think that's... Okay, here's the reason that I think that's really cool, right? And I'll get to the following super chats in a second. Let me elaborate on that one a second, all right? I like the idea of that. I don't know if that's the way it's going to go. I don't know if that's the way Oda's going to write it. It's very interesting, though. I don't know if Sanji even can avoid using it, right? It seems like a passive ability. It just seems like his body is stronger now. I don't think it was particularly in Sanji's control that he made Queen's sword shatter when it hit him. But I really like the idea, in theory, if it was possible, just for fun to spitball, that Sanji would actively try to avoid using Germa because it goes against his values. Because that is what Sanji as a character is fundamentally about. Sanji as a character is about his code of values, his sense of honor, and what he wants to do is right? He will never use his hands for violence, right? No matter what, he never uses his hands for violence, right? So, I mean, that's actually not even that far off from not using an item like a raid suit or something like that, right? He literally does not use his hands for violence. What other fictional fighter do you know that could use their hands? It's not like their hands are disabled. It's not like they're disabled in any way. There's no rule that says they can't, but they simply choose not to use their fists in violence and they fight exclusively with kicks instead, right? So that's the epitome of Sanji. Never will hit a woman. Food will always be given to those who are starving in need, right? Whether that's Jin, whether that's an emperor of the sea like Big Mom, etc. Sanji is always chivalrous to all characters, in that throughout the series you can see for Usopp, for Zoro, whoever, Sanji will always dive in headfirst to take the damage instead of them if he can. It's not something that only applies to women. He just likes to act tough and pretend it is. So Sanji is a character who very much exclusively likes to fight by his code. In fact, in the video on Sanji that's coming out on Wednesday, I talk about how, like, you can look at Sanji fights throughout the series, and there's examples where, like, a lot of it is Sanji getting into trouble because of his code, and then having to, like, use his wits and fight his way out of it and succeed despite sticking to his code, right? So he never actually breaks his code. Like, the Mr. 2 fight, it's not like he ended up forcing himself to hit a woman, right? Like, when Mr. 2 turned into Nami, it's not like Sanji, like, broke his code of values and hit Mr. 2. He had to force himself to find a way to hit Mr. 2, despite Mr. 2 having that ability, without breaking his code of values that he should never hit a woman. So I think it would be extremely, extremely cool if Oda was able to find a way to have first written up this entire arc of Whole Cake Island, where Sanji adamantly sticks to himself, who he is, his, like, absolutely rejecting all of Germa's values, what they stand for, what they represent. Even coming out of that arc, he said, I'm not going to use this raid suit because it goes against whatever, blah, 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 right? There's a bunch of quotes throughout that arc, right? That's just not who he is. He rejected that. He said, Vin Smoke Sanji died 13 years ago. I'm not part of this family. I reject this lineage. I don't want the power of science, all of that stuff, right? So set up that entire arc. Then a new arc where his back is against the wall, he has an option as a way out, which is using Germa, using their abilities and such. I think it would be really, really cool if, going back to that previous arc of Whole Cake Island, that Sanji then basically had to be like, okay, I could use these abilities to beat Queen potentially, but I'm going to stick to what I said. Like, I'm going to stick to myself, even in the face of, potential death against a character that is stronger than me. I'm going to find a way to win without walking back what I said before. I'm going to find a way to win without having to rely on Germa, which I absolutely rejected. That would be really, really cool for Sanji's character, and would be a very different route of forcing him to live and die by his code and still succeed that we have never seen in the series before for him. But there is such a thing as reality, which is that I doubt that Oda is going that route. I just think it would be really cool if it did. No Brains, big shouts for that theory, because that would be just one of the coolest ways that Oda could write Sanji's character, like a new sort of challenge for Sanji that keeps him true to Sanji this far in the series, because we've seen it all before, right? You go back to Fishman Island, you see that first fight, it's literally called Chivalry versus Fishman Karate, and it's with Sanji, throwing himself under the bus and going underwater to be chivalrous to protect Zoro, rather than, doing the smart thing of, like, finding a different way to save Luffy, or not actually trying to fight a fisherman underwater. But that entire fight is about Sanji's chivalry, sacrificing himself for Zoro, going underwater to take on a fisherman head on, and whether Sanji can win despite sticking to that chivalry. Like, go reread that chapter. Kirubi is literally calling him out and saying, can your chivalry defeat me, etc. Like, are you fine standing by your chivalry, right? And Sanji wins despite that. Then the Mr. 2 fight, same thing. Can you hit a woman? In this case, it's a new type of code. Even Whole Cake Island, can you, you cooked for these, are you going to cook for Big Mom? Baratier, same thing. Like, you cooked for Jin, that's why Jin's able to kick your ass right now. Are you not going to, like, fight back against Jin because, Zeph is in danger? You're not going to fight back against Pearl because Zeph is in danger. Like, so many of Sanji's fights put him in those situations. I would love if, like, the new situation that he's put in is the easy option of falling back on Germa and everything like that, despite everything he said and his utter rejection of them and what they stand for. Having that option as the easy option to potentially win the fight, but instead finding it within himself to stick to what he values and rejecting that. I don't think that's possible, though, because, it's a passive ability. It just seems like Germa's abilities are becoming Germa's abilities, are becoming Sanji's abilities. I don't think you can avoid that. But that would have been a really, really cool idea. Really, really cool idea. Let me catch up on the Super Chats. Sorry I spent so long on that one. I just really like that idea. Again, like, I've come around to the idea that, Sanji's going to be using the Germa abilities in the future. Okay, hold on. I'm a little behind, so I got to open up the Super Chats tab. The secret tab, where you can see them all listed. I don't like using this tab because it potentially crashes the stream. But you know what? That's okay. I have a feeling it won't happen. It's just a hunch. Give me a second, everyone. I'll get to your supers. Alright, so next up we have Waldy Drupe, who said, I believe the raid was a success on the Alliance end, but now ATP, it's an all-out war, and I believe that will fail. What's your thoughts? Big fan, BTW. No, the raid, we're still calling all this battle, the Onigashima battle, is the raid, right? So the same way, I don't take it the other way with people saying, like, some people who are, viewers, subscribers of me who do support me in a sense, right? I do see people going out and arguing basically like, Morge was technically right because the raid failed, and, now, like, they wanted to swoop in and just take out Kaido easily, and that failed, and now it's a big war. So technically Morge was right, and I say no to that. I was not right unless this battle, this specific battle, this Onigashima battle, right? This is still essentially the raid. So I'm not going to claim that I'm right just because they didn't take down Kaido as easily. So if they lose over the course of this battle, if they win over the course of this battle, like the Strahd Alliance win over the course of this battle, I will of course say that I was wrong, the raid did not fail. But in that same vein, I would say that, like, no, I'm not going to say the raid was a success, and now we're in a new sort of fate, like a new sort of different battle. This whole battle is what I'm talking about. This initial battle, in my opinion, to take down Kaido, the Beast Pirates, etc., I believe this battle is where they will be defeated, right? So just the fact that the location is kind of moving around doesn't change the fact that this is all one battle. This is all essentially this is the big raid on Onigashima. I mean, you even have, like, Nekomamushi telling Perospero, like, if Pedro didn't sacrifice himself, the raid would have failed, which hit me right in the heart. I was like, what? Am I being punked? What's going on right here? They literally talk about the raid failing in the manga. But anyway, the point being, like, for the characters' perspectives in the storyline, they believe that they're still in the midst of the raid, right? So I think that's canonically the case. James Fox, thanks a lot. Krabby Patty says, really hope Luffy doesn't get an awakening in Wano. Always felt it should be saved for Blackbeard or Kainu. I agree, and I think that it will be saved for Blackbeard because awakening is a perfect counterpart to Blackbeard's fruit, the Guro Guro no Ni. And awakening just wasn't something that stressed much this arc. This is very much more so an arc that is hockey related, right? James Fox, thanks again. James Fox, are you trying to get in a comment? Because you're not making a comment. Are you trying to get in a comment, but, like, something's happening to it? I'm not sure what's going on with that. Silver of the Deep, how strong do you think Koby currently is? Good question. People won't like my answer, though. I think I'm right in that Koby is a rear admiral at the moment. Right? I think Koby is a rear admiral at the moment. I don't think Koby's as strong as people think he is. I just don't. I don't think Koby's as strong as I think he is. I think Koby right now would beat, like, pre-time skip Luffy. That's what I'll say. I think he would beat, like, pre-time skip Luffy and probably the Supernova's pre-time skip. But I think it would be close. Like, I think people really just won't like what I have to say about Koby. The reason being, I still believe, if he could totally prove me wrong, like in Amazon Lily, I think people are going off the notion that Kobe's being sent to capture Boa Hancock, which has never been implied to be, like, the case. Nobody, like, where does it say that just Kobe is being sent? They're obviously sending, like, they sent, like, a large group, right? And most likely with other officers involved. Right? I highly doubt that Kobe is going by himself. I'm of the opinion that Kobe, by the end of the story, will not be, Admiral level, Luffy level, or anything like that. I think that'll be epilogue based, so, like, after the main events of the story, at some point, Kobe will, of course, achieve his dream of being an admiral, maybe, like, being someone who can attempt to hunt down Luffy, stuff like that. But I think in terms of growth rate, that makes sense to me. It wouldn't make sense for Kobe to be there that fast over the course of the story. And I've talked before at length in my streams and, like, I think other people's streams about how I've always felt like Kobe whatever his big moment is by the end of the story in the main plot of One Piece, not epilogue stuff. I've always felt like his main moment would be more so related to bravery or spirit rather than actually like being some gung-ho force that can help take on like the baddest pirate in the world that can like fight on par with admirals or fleet admirals or Yonko or whatever, right? So I don't think Koby is that strong. Personally, I might be totally wrong. I might be underrating him, but I still don't think that he's anywhere close to like admiral level like some people think that he is. Baba says, after 1028, where do you think the arc goes now? I mean, same direction I've always thought it goes. Same direction I've always thought it goes. Landizo Sjogren says, wait, let me elaborate on that. I think they lose, okay? Landizo Sjogren says, do you think that Zoro will get a power-up in the form of opening his eye? I've never been... The eye-opening thing is so difficult, because it's like you can never disprove it. It can never be disproved. Until One Piece ends, you can never disprove... I guess maybe by the time Zoro fights Mihawk, you know, if he does the Mihawk fight and doesn't open his eye, then I think at that point people would accept that he's not going to open his eye, because it's like, why wouldn't you open your eye against Mihawk, right? If you gain some hidden ability during your training with Mihawk, and now it's finally time to duel Mihawk for everything on the line, you would open your eye at that point, right? But until then, I think it's very difficult. Maybe this fight as well, right? If Zoro loses this fight and doesn't open his eye, then maybe people also acknowledge that his eye will never open. That's the tricky thing. Like, I could easily shit on the eye opening and be like, guys, that's so fucking dumb. Why would the eye open? And then look like a total moron 3 chapters later when Zoro opens his eye against King, and it's just like, oh, fuck. So, I don't know, man. I think that there's nothing to really... There's nothing really to me that indicates that Zoro will open his eye. But I also can't disprove it, and I don't want to look stupid if he ends up opening his eye. So I'll say maybe. It's factually maybe. Trevor Roberts says, do you think it's worth it to start a channel around One Piece? It's coming to an end soon. Not for profit, but just out of passion for the series. So it depends what you want out of it, man. It's coming to an end soon. That's a tricky discussion because, you know, I think even just recently the editor said 5 more years. Like, not like 2 years ago they said 5 more years. A year ago I think they said 5 more years. This year they said 5 more years. So take that as you will. I personally think it's got 6 to 7 more years left. That's me personally. You know, but if you want to go off the editors, you can go off the editors. So you can consider a few things. One, look at a series like Dragon Ball, right? Which ended, Dragon Ball Z ended a long time ago, but you can keep on talking about Dragon Ball. Keep on talking about Dragon Ball. Naruto, there's Naruto channels that are alive and well talking about Boruto. So there's a couple things, right? With One Piece, you can expect the manga ends, but then the anime keeps going. So as long as the anime keeps going, you know, the anime will take probably another year or 2 to essentially catch up and finish the series. So that 5-year window that you have to make content on One Piece, even if you want to stick it to 5 years, expand it by 2 in your head, 1 to 2 in your head, because you have 1 to 2 more years of people still following and catching up and wanting to watch it. 2, the Netflix series gives it possibly new life, but you don't want to count on that necessarily. And 3, it's very possible that like things like the novels, stuff like that will start being, because One Piece is such a cash cow, similar to a Boruto, similar to, I'm not saying Oda's going to write a sequel series, but just that, like, when the series ends, you can't imagine it as the series ends and then suddenly all room for One Piece discussion ends, okay? So it's very likely got, like, an aftermath of at least 2-3 more years. So, and on top of that, I don't think the series itself, the main series, ends in 5 years. So I would say, is it worth it to start a channel? Even all that being said, I would say, because I'm personally, by the way, I do not intend to be a One Piece YouTuber 5 years down the line. I say that now. Who knows what it looks like for me at 5 years down the line? But I personally don't intend to stay in this, right? I started a second channel and outside endeavors, basically, that I'm also almost more focused on. But if you're new, I don't think it's dangerous to start that way, because then at some point you can start expanding into other series and such when the end is sort of in sight. And yeah, you can you can turn whatever you've grown into something else. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I do think that you should not start it unless you're prepared to be very, very consistent about it and have a very clear vision of how you differentiate yourself from other people, because it's very easy to start a channel at 0 subscribers and have a tremendous amount of difficulty growing to the first 100. if you look at One Piece YouTubers that are relatively new, that have come up in the last 2 years, this is a faster time for growth than, because me and other YouTubers talk about it. I think even just on the Red Force podcast stream this Saturday, post-stream, I was talking with the other people in the call. So the Red Force podcast, Brago, Dritz, and we're talking about how right now is a faster time for One Piece growth. Like, channels grow much faster in the last 2 years than has ever been the case before. So it's both the time, like, it's a very explosive time for growth and popularity in One Piece. So it's not a bad idea to jump on the train right now, because channels are, like, back in the day, it would take so long for small channels to get to 10K. Then I think me and O'Hara came around and we got there relatively fast. And nowadays channels just, they get to 10K a lot faster, but I don't want you to come into that believing that that's going to be the case, because a lot faster still means like 2-ish years of very consistent work, right? Very consistent work. So all the new people, like, you know, a JD, a Joy Girl, a Sensei, they also put in very consistent work, so a lot of people aren't ready to do that. So, I mean, long story short, it depends on you. If you have like a very unique style or way of creating content, or, you know, different voice, and you're extremely consistent and driven in doing it and just very passionate and want to talk about One Piece all the time, and you can keep uploading over and over and over again, then yeah, you got a good shot at it. And you can always, I think the timeline for One Piece still being a valuable YouTube channel topic is longer than you would think, but you still have room to diversify, you know, 4 or 5 years down the line. Anyway, long answer to that. I think anytime you guys ask me something YouTube related, because that's a little more personal, like there's more personal experience to draw on, I do accidentally go on a bit of a tangent. But let's keep going. Hello says, have you watched Squid Game? And if you have, what are your thoughts? Great question, hello. I have watched Squid Game. I liked it a lot. I have a video coming out on the Movie Mords channel, my second channel, which I'll shout out right here. Video coming out on the movie channel. It'll be out next Saturday. Not next Saturday as in like next Saturday. This Saturday. This Saturday, the 16th. I'll have a video on Squid Game coming out. So that should get out most of my thoughts on it. I thought it was a very good series. Yeah, I thought it was a very good series. And anything more in depth, you can wait for the video. Patrick Malone says, Crackpot Theory number 2. When Oda said 5 years, he meant in-world. Tokyo will be using her power to save the Strahds at the end of Act 3. Oof. No, come on, guys. In-world? 5 years? If you send the Strahds forward 5 years at the end of Act 3, then they come in, everybody's already found the One Piece. The big war will have already happened, right? How can the Strahds come back? Like, the Strahds already were gone for 2 years. I don't think Oda can do that again, right? Because he already did that whole arc of the Strahds being gone for 2 years, the whole world wondering where they went, and then kind of making their explosive return again, right, with the events of Fishman Island, Punk Hazard, and particularly Dressrosa, right? Dressrosa was the big return moment for the Straw Hats, right? That was when they exploded back onto the scene, got their new bounties and stuff, shook up the world order. I don't think Oda can do that again, where it's like, oh, well, now the Straw Hats are gone again for another 5 years, you know? Adrian Joaquin says, as much as I dislike Sanji getting his dormant powers, I think they'll play on acceptance of himself, powers or not, his passion still makes him human. Yeah, no, there's definitely, for the record, everything that I said, Germa was about Sanji, there are story route options that Oda can go with to make this work, right? There's plenty of options. It just depends how Oda does it. And it also depends on, like, you know, Oda actually, he's got to treat it with some weight. That's the main thing. He's got to treat it with some weight, because you spent 80 chapters building up that Sanji is not, building up one side of the equation and, like, the first message. So you don't have to spend 80 chapters building up the second half of the message, but you do have to acknowledge everything that you covered in that first, in that first half of this Sanji arc, right? And that's not even just me saying it. Like, I believe that Oda is going to do this, because you can read chapter 1028. There are several, just in that chapter alone, there are several times that Sanji is, like, talking about, like, do not call me a Vinsmoke. I don't want to be like the Germa. He's, like, really upset by the fact that it seems like his body is turning. The chapter literally ends with him being like, no, I don't want this, right? So there's clearly a lot going on in Sanji's end, which is that he does not want this. So Oda is clearly conscious of everything that he established for Sanji before this. So as long as Oda treats it with weight and spends some time developing it and doesn't just make it an easy snap fix of, like, Sanji's just suddenly okay with Germa abilities, then I think that there's plenty of routes that Oda could go with it. Kimura Mitchell says, do you think Zoro will get internal armament hockey? I don't know what that means. Internal armament hockey? like his lungs are like stronger or something. I don't know if that's something he particularly needs. I didn't even think of that as a concept before. Miguel Gonzalez says, when's the Raid Fail video coming out? I'm trying to get it out for this Saturday. I think this Saturday, it'll be this Saturday video. I think I can get it out this Saturday. James Fox says, Sanji's current power-up undercuts his mother's sacrifice in the Germa arc, making it pointless. Oda's a great writer, I expected more from him. James Fox, wait for my video that comes out on Wednesday. We've been talking a lot about this, right? But, like, there's different ways Oda can do it. Let's wait and see. If Oda just kind of, like, waves it away and just says Sanji's okay with it now, then that's a problem. I think if Oda has a more a larger, more comprehensive message that will come out of this, that will include acknowledge everything that was said in Whole Cake Island as having truth to it, but also saying that there's a second side to it that you also have to consider, then I think that it all works. Sir Hexalot says, hot take, Mojo's the best One Piece YouTuber. Oh, thank you very much. Taking the crown from GLR. Well, we do different types of content, so I don't really think that, we just do different types of content. GLR, if you want to compare actual numbers, well, then I don't want to do that comparison, because Randline Reviews numbers are, like, 4 times as much as mine, 5 times as much as mine, something like that. So, in terms of subscribers and stuff, so if you want to give the crown to somebody, you kind of got to give it to Grand Line. He's the biggest One Piece YouTuber there is. If you want to say you prefer me for specific things, then I will happily take that, But if you want to go off of results, Grand Line Review is the most subscribers. So, we just all do different content to different degrees. There's going to be overlap in terms of, some YouTubers do more theory, some YouTubers do more discussion, some YouTubers do more analysis. I think I'm good at the things that I'm good at, if that makes sense. I think I'm the best at the things that I think I'm the best at, and I think other YouTubers are the best at the things that they're the best at, so I just think that there's, it's hard to compare different people. A lot of it comes down to your preference. Justin Holland says, don't use it for them, use for his mom. Yeah, that's an interesting way Oda could spin it for Germa. I don't know how much it would be using it for his mom if he just uses it to beat Queen, so I don't know exactly, but that's, there's routes that Oda can go with it. Wheezy Bird, I know you from Twitter, what's up, man? What about Sanji accepting the Germa powers, but he will use it for the greater good, basically rebranding the Germa name through his kindness? Sure, he's also a pirate, though. He's also a pirate, so keep that in mind. So, he's not a hero. Sanji's not a hero. I mean, I guess Sanji's never been like Luffy or Zoro and like rejecting the heroic notion. I think Sanji does like being that chivalrous white knight, especially for the ladies, obviously. So, there's different ways that it can be spun, but again, I don't know if I would like it for that reason quite as much. Him just saying, well, I use these powers for good, whereas they used it for evil. It depends. I think Oda has a lot of routes that he could make it work, and it would be how he does it and how much time and weight he gives to it. It can't be easy. That's the main thing. I don't think it can be easy. Marcos Vinicius says, Sora's sacrifice... Man, there's a lot of back-to-back stuff about Sanji. All right, let's see. Sora's sacrifice isn't ruined by this Germa upgrade. Judge was the one... I feel like these are super chats that are battling with each other. Judge was the one who called Sanji's skin not being iron a flaw when talking to Luffy. Sora didn't want their children to be emotionless machines. Yeah, but a lot of it is... I'm not going to say Sora's sacrifice is ruined by this Germa upgrade. Okay, I don't think that. I just do want to make it clear that, the symbolism was very... It's not like Sanji having an iron body and Sanji being emotional are two separate things, right? Because Oda's drawing a bit of one is symbolic of something else, right? So the idea of being very rigid, being emotionless, being the perfect soldier and warrior or fighter or whatever, versus being a kind, compassionate human being, that was sort of represented by the fact that Germa are these machines, literal physical machines with iron bodies and stuff like that, and Sanji's just a soft, normal human. But the fact that Sanji is so great as a soft, normal human, he's able to fight so well despite being a soft, normal human, and at the same time, he has, that was kind of a way of symbolizing that this other aspect of being a kind-hearted person versus being an emotionless, rigid, soldier-type individual, that has equal value, or even potentially greater value. So, one is symbolic of the other. So, it's not two separate things. You get what I'm saying? Aiden Caprista says, you on the toilet, dog. Yeah, I just don't want to admit it. I started the stream in the bathroom by accident, and I'm just trying to play it off. Diddle TT says, how do you think Nami versus Ulti should have gone? Dude, I mean, I don't even want to get into a thing of, writing the story for Oda, right? Don't want to do it like that. Literally just Just don't do it the way he... Like, if you're setting it up like a fight... Again, I don't know if the Toby Roper are all defeated. I personally don't think they are. I think that they could easily get back up. So, in that case, the Nami versus Ulti thing, totally fine as a red herring. Okay, if it's a red herring, who cares? If that's actually Nami's fight for the arc, I'd say the simplest thing you could do for Nami would be to give her a fight instead of just whatever the fuck that was. You know what I mean? Like, let's just give her a fight. Look at Nami versus Khalifa. Look at Nami versus Doublefinger. Look at Nami versus fucking Kotri and Kotri. Like, these are all fights that provide storylines and moments that are, like, great for her character, right? Just, I don't really know what to say about Nami versus Ulti, but it's just not, it wasn't really a fight. It was kind of just, like, a messy thing where she kind of got essentially an auto win. Like, did any of us feel like Nami did anything in particular to get that win? Or did she just throw Zeus and then Zeus was like, well, I'm a homing missile now, and then Zeus took care of her. So, let's see. Can Luffy free Wano and still lose to Kaido? Says Paul. I mean, I think Luffy will free Wano no matter what in the end. I just think that's gonna go hand in hand with defeating Kaido. So if he loses to Kaido here, I think Wano's freedom will have to wait a little longer. Raphael D. Steed says, I think the Grand Fleet will show up and fight the world government, and that's the incident the narrator was talking about. The Wano will be Luffy's Yonko territory. Yeah, so that's, I do think that if there's any outside intervention that makes sense, it would be the Grand Fleet. I just don't know why they would show up so fast, right? They would have had to have caught wind of this somehow. That's an interesting idea, though. And actually, like, in the video that's coming out, what's the track of this? Yeah, next Tuesday, not this week, so next Tuesday, I do talk about, like, what it would mean if the Marines are, like, Luffy claiming this as his territory post-defeating Kaido, what that would mean for the Marines' encounter when the Marines actually get to Wano, right? Stephen Bracheno says, if the raid doesn't fail, what moment do you think Oda meant the failure of the arc to be? Also, did your editor read One Piece to edit for you? Okay. What moment do I think Oda meant the failure of the arc to be? Dude, that's one of the problems I have with the idea that the raid doesn't fail, because at that point, like, if I asked 10 different people, hey, what do you think was the dramatic low point of the arc? I think 10 different people would give 10 different answers, because the reality is that there wasn't really one. You can't draw a point in the Wano arc so far where you would say, okay, this was the significant low point, the valley of the arc from which, dramatic tension from there built up to a high finish, right? Because there just hasn't really been one. So that would be one of my issues with the arc, and one of my primary issues with Wano, which would be that if they just win here, then this was probably the most frictionless arc that the Straughts have ever had. Cigar Verk says, world government ships coming in smells like a failure. Yeah, I mean, there's again, I talk about this in the upcoming Tuesday video. I would like to be like, yeah, this just points to a failure coming up, but there are multiple options that I do have to acknowledge, right? So, this being a sign that the Straughts are going to lose, that's an option, but it's not necessarily the option. It doesn't have to mean that. Mr. Moji, a very similar name to mine, but you're taking after Mohiji, the buggy pirate crew, man. Luffy doesn't kill. If he defeats Kaido, another party must deal with him. Agreed. Will this be the Marines or Blackbeard? What does this mean for the raid outcome? So Blackbeard's a cool idea, but I also don't think that Blackbeard would take a dragon fruit, because I don't think that Oda would rewrite Luffy fighting against a dragon. Okay? So, in that case, will it be the Marines or Blackbeard? I really don't know. I think that it will be some third party. So it could be Blackbeard and then someone else on the crew is given the dragon fruit. Or it could be the Marines assassinating him in some manner, but I agree that Luffy would not kill him. William Xavier says, recurring theme in Wano of moving through past trauma to be stronger for the ones you love. Momo, Robin, Sanji. I think I need a little bit more than that to say that that's the theme, because getting through past trauma is like something that happens frequently throughout One Piece, so I don't know if I would have to see a bit more to get the idea that, like, that's Oda's intent to say that this is a theme that's being specifically played up in Wano. Sorry, I've had a bit of a tiring day. Okay. Andrew R. Sorry I came in late. No worries, Andrew. If Luffy defeats Kaido, do you think they'll be able to defeat the Marines, or will they run and have to leave Wano for later? Again, video coming Tuesday as to what I think. In short, I'll be next Tuesday, not this Tuesday. In short, I'd say that I don't think, I don't think that they will be abandoning Wano to the Marines, no matter what, because I do think that this would be maybe the first official territory that Luffy has under his protection. I think it would be a very strange ending for Wano to end with them getting their freedom and then having that stolen by the world government. That would feel like very antithetical to the buildup of like what Wano is really about. So I doubt that this ends with the world government taking over and Straw Hats having to run again. Carter Kite says, "Hey, any plans to cover Star Trek on the other channel? The Next Generation or Deep Space Nine seemed right up your alley." Unfortunately, I know little to nothing about Star Trek. I've never watched a Star Trek episode. I watched the movies, but I know that Star Trek fans say that those aren't really like the recent movies, with like the modern ones, right? Like Chris, right? Like Chris Pine, and I don't know who plays Spock, but like I've seen those modern Star Trek movies. I thought they were like fine, solid. So, but I know that that's not representative of what the actual series is like at all. So, unfortunately, I'm not a Star Trek guy. My bad. Isaiah Davis says the Marines coming to Wano is a direct order from upstairs. Doesn't that imply that the warlords have already been captured, or the world government is going over Akaino's head by attacking Wano? So there's some missing stuff that we haven't seen behind the scenes, right? You do put out two good options, that the warlords have been captured, or the world government is going over Akaino's head by attacking Wano. In the meantime, the Marines have been getting news, updates, etc. of like the situation in Wano, CP0 telling them most likely that the situation is kind of spiraling for Kaido. Things are getting kind of bad for Kaido. Potentially Kaido being defeated. So in that case, what's so funny to me? CP0 is just chilling in Onigashima, right? They're just sitting in Onigashima. This is actually crazy now that you think about it. CP0 is sitting in Onigashima, right? Kaido's okay with them being there because they represent the world government, and Kaido does trades with Wano does trades with the world government. That's how the business works. But at the same time, this is a gigantic information leak that's just happening because CP0 just gets to sit there and relay information to the world government. And now, as soon as the world government is sensing weakness, they're going to come in and take out Kaido. Kaido should have killed CP0 right off the bat. Actually, no, I guess not, because Kaido has no way of knowing that this situation would have gotten to this point, right? He has no way of knowing that things would have spiraled out of control. I guess in Kaido's mind, these guys will take, some swings at me, the Scabbards will attack me, then I'll take them down. These Supernova and stuff are trying to break in, but this is, easy pickings. So I guess Kaido had no idea that it would get to a point where, oh, you know what? The fucking guests, my house guests that I have, the CP0, they would actually be reporting tales of my demise, rumors of my demise to the outside world, and actually basically serve as, the final nail in my coffin by inviting a bunch of outside figures to come destroy me, even if I survive this even if I shut down this little rebellion that's happening. So I mean that's interesting, got CP0 being treated as guests here by Kaido, and literally they're just sitting there while Kaido and the Beast Pirates are fighting for their lives and just reporting to the outside world they may die, so come on in, just you fucking scavengers, just if we'll keep you up to date. If things get a little worse, then maybe you want to just swoop in and just finish the job. It's pretty funny to me. No Brain says, who is the strongest Tobiroppo? No, and why is it Ulti? I got the sense that Who's Who is the strongest Tobiroppo in terms of portrayal. X Drake, do we count him or not? I don't even know. Even with X Drake, maybe Who's Who is the strongest. It's hard to tell. Ryan, I do think out of the confirmed not double agents, so Who's Who, Sasaki, Ulti, Black Maria on page 1, I did get the sense that Who's Who was portrayed as the strongest. And I know bounties aren't strength or whatever, but the bounties also seem to reflect that. So Ryan the Dino says, why does Shanks have such good conquerors Saki? Because what did he conquer? Also, is he coming to Wano to beat the Marines? We don't know a lot about Shanks' history, right? We don't know a lot about Shanks' history. What was, when did his hockey bloom over the course of what battles? What we do know that's interesting is it was mentioned that the Yonko, so Trafalgar Law back in Punk Hazard, when Luffy tells Law that, hey, I want to defeat all 4 Yonko, what Law tells him in Punk Hazard is all 4, I'm not sure you fully understand what that means. These are all figures that have fought and had territory battles with Whitebeard himself. So to me, the implication is that the other emperors have had maybe encounters, skirmishes, battles with Whitebeard over the years, and very possibly with each other. If territory battles are happening with Whitebeard, who's to say that they wouldn't have happened with each other? So maybe not full-fledged wars, but I'm sure that they've had their fair share of scuffles or little smaller interactions, I suppose, offshoots, like the same way that Shanks has had duels with Mihawk or something. It's hard to say, you know? It's very hard to say because I assume that we're probably not going to get a lot of backstory of like who Shanks beat or what characters he's fought over the years, but we can assume that Shanks has had to have some significant moments of hockey blooming over the years. The pirate here says, I think the certified Zoro badass moment this arc is he'll finish a fight and we'll learn the medicine had already worn off for a while. That would be really cool. I think that'd be really, really, really cool. That'd be hilarious. Not hilarious, but like, just like classic Zoro. You know what I mean? So Garvert says, what if tragedy is world government taking Wano and Act 5 is versus world government? Dude, I talk about that in, again, the video coming out next Tuesday about what I think the potential options are with the Marines and Wano. I mean, I can tell you right here, I personally don't believe in that route. Simply because I think that that's not a very cathartic way to finish this whole battle, right? You know, just, it would feel like a lot of the Beast Pirates Kaido conflict is not that important if it was actually just like a little segue, a stepping stone into the real battle of Wano versus the world government, which wasn't really set up nearly as much. You know, I think people reference Thriller Bark, but even Thriller Bark, like, go reread the arc, that's not how it played out. Like, the main battle was still Moria and his crew and Oars. Kuma wasn't actually an opponent that they were meant to defeat. Kuma was like a last-minute addition, like a final extra bonus trial of spirit that they had to overcome, right? Like a test of their loyalty and spirit, right? Like not just Zoro's loyalty, because the entire crew said they'd put their lives on the line for Luffy. Kuma said, give me Luffy and I'll spare you guys. The entire crew, plus the rolling pirates, said no. Zoro is the one who obviously went the extra mile. But like the Kuma situation was different. I think people very inaccurately say, well, like, Kuma was also at the end of Thriller Bark, therefore the world government can play like the role of that final boss that they need to defeat. It's like, they didn't defeat Kuma. That's not how the arc worked. And also the arcs are fundamentally structured very different. Wano, the Kaido and the Beast Pirates, that conflict is the climax to a storyline that's been building for like hundreds and hundreds of chapters. Like these are the final bosses that have been built up for so long. It would be like if Luffy defeated Crocodile, the Straw Hats defeated Baroque Works, and then the final villain of the arc was like, I don't know, Momonga or something like that out of the blue. It would be very, very odd and not set up at all because we spent so much time building up to Baroque Works. So it's just a very, very different setup. I don't think it works exactly the same way. Landizo Siogren says, you think Mihawk and Zoro made an ideal? No. I don't know what that means. Made an ideal. Made an ideal? Like, you can have my eye if... What does that mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Made an ideal. Like, I'll steal your hockey in your eye? I don't get it. Hayden Spencer, thanks a lot. What do you think future interactions between Who's Who will be, if any at all? So, I mean, it's very possible that CP0 just picks up Who's Who, right? Because he's just sitting there, defeated. So it's possible that CP0 just picks up Who's Who. Other alternative is that Who's Who gets back up, which is my preferred interaction. But, you know, it does feel like CP0 are going to get to confront him in some way. So that's the interaction I suppose I could guess at for Who's Who. That might be in his future. Muhammad Saeed says, Himowich, I know this is so random, but do you think Nami and Frankie's parents will be relevant to the story? So some time ago I'd have told you, no, obviously not, okay? But now it's hard to say. Because now it's like, why not? You know? Because Sanji's parents are important. Zoro's parents are important. Usopp's parents are important. You know, the next thing we're going to find out is, like, Chopper's dad was secretly, like, Rudolph or some shit. Like, the best reindeer of all time. The world's strongest reindeer or something like that. I don't know. I would prefer if not... Especially with Nami, because Nami was a literal fucking baby when she died, so I don't know, like, even if we got some backstory and context on her parents... She was a baby when she was picked up by Bellemere, right? So even if we got some context and backstory on her parents, there's nothing that doesn't bring up any sort of past trauma or storyline for Nami like it would with Sanji, because her parents would have no memory, right? Like her first memory is probably of Nojiko and Bellemere. So it's hard to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nami is secretly something or the other. And then Frankie, I'm leaning. So it's tricky because Frankie is more likely to have famous parents, like easily segue into the story to have some significance because Frankie, like, he was like an older boy, right? Like he might have some greater memory. I don't think it was mentioned that he was abandoned as a baby, as far as I know. And his parents are noted to be pirates, so if they're pirates, they could be anyone. They could be someone important for all we know. So Frankie seems to have more set up there, but at the same time, Frankie is a far less important, character than Nami, so it might just not be that important for Oda to delve into Frankie's lineage. I don't know if he'd want to devote time to that. On the other hand, Nami, it feels like there's no setup for her to have anything, because literally she was found as a baby. She would have no past memories, no real connection to anything else, like no real trauma to stem from, to go over, to like delve into if we got an arc like that. But at the same time, every one of the other East Blue 5 have some sort of important family line, right? And I fully expect Nami to get equal treatment to them. So if Oda's going the route of, okay, now Zoro has this important story past family. Sanji has an important past family. Usopp we already knew. Luffy we already knew. I wouldn't be surprised if Nami does as well. So Nami is maybe the least set up for it, but the most character-based, character significance-based reason to have that. Whereas Frankie has probably the most potential setup for having an important parent. I'm losing my word. Sorry, long day for me. Frankie has probably the most automatic setup placed in there for him to have some important people as his parents, but the least likelihood of Oda actually taking the time to want to set up something important for his character like that. You know what I mean? J. Press P says, do you think Katakuri will appear from the mirror dimension to save Big Mom at some point? The mirror dimension, that is a great idea. The mirror dimension. The mirror dimension is so broke. It is so broke. So broke. You can do so much with the mirror dimension. Once you hide in the mirror dimension, alright, as far as I know, my knowledge, I think that there's only one character that can get into the mirror dimension besides Brule. Only one character, as far as I know, that could get into the mirror dimension besides Brule. And this isn't even confirmed, but it's debatable. Quick, who do you guys think is the one character I'm thinking of that could get into the mirror dimension that's not Brule? I'm interested to see if you guys can figure it out. There's one character. Shoot, chat's so far behind me. Or I'm so far behind chat. Koopy Coop. Yeah, don't worry about Koopy Coop. Yeah, you'll still be, you're still... God damn it. Hold on, let me let chat load a little bit. Once we're caught up, we'll get your predictions. Good God, you guys are far back. Okay, we're almost there. Chopper's dad, top 5. I'm seeing the comments now. Yeah, Bluno. Alright, finally got your comments. Yes, Bluno is the one character that makes sense. Bluno is the one character. Damn it, I thought I was a genius. I was like, the one guy that could do it is Bluno, and I bet nobody else would think of it. But literally everybody thought of it. Bring back Morgecast. I do have to drive this week. Because as I told you guys, I'm back in my hometown. I will be doing some driving this week because things are just a little further away from me, the places that I need to go. So, Morgecast can definitely happen. Yeah, it's Bluno. Green Bull. No, it's Bluno. You guys already got it. Law, I don't think so. Law doesn't really make sense to me. Bluno can travel dimensions, though, right? So he could potentially get there. So, Bluno's the one dude. But besides Bluno, who else is fucking with people in the mirror dimension? The Big Mom Pirates could abuse the mirror dimension to no end. You just sneak out, do some crazy surprise attacks, then run back into the mirror dimension. And the only way people can stop you is if they have, constant future sight on at all times. I guess Katakuri could prevent people from, sneak attacking them from the mirror dimension, but Katakuri's already on the Big Mom Pirates, so they're basically stacked. If I were the Big Mom Pirates, I would go through the mirror dimension, go all the way over to, Onigashima, just wait till the Beast Pirates are asleep, come out, murder them, and then head back into the mirror dimension. probably rinse repeat for the rest of the Yonko crew and then the world government. Why aren't they walking up to Imu's mirror? Imu definitely has some mirrors. Just go up to Imu's mirror in his bedroom, come out, cut off his head, and then sit on the, sit on the throne. Sit on the empty throne. I don't know. Mirror Dimension, absolutely busted. So, yes, Katakuri could potentially appear for the Mirror Dimension to save Big Mom, but the Mirror Dimension could also be used for like a million different things that it's not really used for. I guess it depends, like, maybe you can't walk, like, across the seas through the Mirror Dimension. I don't really know. But you wouldn't even have to. What if you just docked your boat near the island, as we've seen done with the Mirror Dimension, go into the Mirror Dimension? There's a lot you could do with the Mirror Dimension. Zachariah Zachzoro says, considering that you don't plan to talk about One Piece in 5-ish years from now, do you intend to abandon this channel after or before One Piece ends? Wow, that was a dark way to say it. When I say I don't plan to do talk about One Piece 5-ish years from now, I guess what I mean more so is like, how do I say this? Probably, I do want to see One Piece through to its end, right? So I do want to keep doing this channel to see One Piece through to its end, all right? But at the same time, I don't want to be just, I guess, how do I say it? Yeah, like, I don't want to be, like, just tied exclusively to One Piece by that point, if that makes sense. So that's not even necessarily diversifying this channel. I do have a second channel at this point that I'm very interested in growing. So I do want to see One Piece through to its end, in general. But at the same time, like, I don't want to be in the exact same place I am right now. I guess nobody really does, right? You don't want to be doing in the exact same place you are right now 5 years from now, right? So if I continue on this exact trajectory, I would be me 5 years from now, but just with, like, more subscribers, right? And, you do want your life to be more interesting in different ways over time. So that's not to say I would abandon this channel. I have plenty of plans to keep doing things for this channel for a good long while, but it's more so like 5 years is a very, very long time. It almost seems scary to me to be basically saying that, like, oh, I will definitely be doing this channel in 5 years for sure, focusing exclusively on this channel on One Piece, right? And basically doing things exactly the same way I'm doing right now. So I do want to be talking about One Piece and making videos on One Piece all the way through to the end of the series, but that's different to me than saying that basically, like, this would be the channel that, like, I would, like, my, the vast majority of my time and focus would be basically doing things the same way I'm doing right now. Chase237 says, in the CP0 room, there's a woman with the eye paper. Could she be spying on them and relay this information back to Kaido's people if the raid fails? There's a woman with the eye paper. Could you be spying on them and relaying this information back to Kaido's people if the raid fails? I know what you're saying. That would be interesting if CP0 gets, like, smackdown after this if the raid fails, because Kaido's heard about CP0's little plot. He's not going to be too happy about it. Oh, questions are being asked about the MarineFord analysis by the Gandhi. MarineFord analysis, I feel so bad continuously saying soon, but the reality is that it is soon. It's literally just, like, finishing the script, which is when there's so many other things that I have to do at the same time. It's going back and forth and finishing parts of the script a bit at a time. That's what's tricky about it. So it's almost done, but, like, it's, like, the gap between being almost done and, like, done is big. Because I don't want to sit down and record the whole thing, because it'll be a little long. I want to sit down and record the whole thing and then go back to it and be like, okay, I didn't like this part of the script, didn't like this part of the script, got to redo it. So it's not, like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm sitting down and grinding the MarineFord analysis all the time. It's more so basically like, I have to do this work for the One Piece channel, this work for the Morge channel, this work for my other stuff, basically. And in between those gaps, that's when I put in time into the MarineFord analysis. And so it's been at, like, the 70, 80, I guess 85% mark for some time now. But I think I can give an official date for it pretty soon. Probably next week next week's stream I can give you an official date for it, but it won't be out by next week. So I can tell you that much. One sec. Okay, hold on. I'm behind on a couple. Let me reload. Alright. So, Blue Shakespeare says Zoro is Toki's twin who got teleported to the future by mistake, making him Momo's uncle. I'm so confused. Zoro is... Hold on. Processing. Zoro is Toki's twin who got teleported to the future by mistake, making him Momo's uncle. So then, in that case, Zoro's romance with Hiyori is weird. So I'm going to say no to that. But that's interesting ideas. I don't really know what to say. Then that would just be weird. All the Zoro Hiyori scenes, weird. Le Man says, interesting that Tama is with Usopp and Nami, since Usopp mentioned cracking if kidnapped Nami, and Tama already didn't crack with Holden. That is interesting, and I really still hope that my theory... That's one of my favorite theories that I hope does come true, Usopp being taken hostage, because I just feel like so much setup is there for that to happen. Like, it's perfect for Usopp's character, based on the things that he's been saying and his primary fears. That's been his primary fear, it feels like, since the start of Wano, and it's been something he's been talking about since Zo. So I really, really hope that happens with Usopp. The Pirate Beat here said, you said fans need a simple Infinity Stone type thread for MCU movies, but doesn't Civil War's success dispute that? I think general audiences might just need interesting conceits with light characters. It depends, because you can only do novelty things, I think, once in a while. So, like, Civil War, it's true, it didn't need much of a thread to get to Civil War, right? But Civil War was a novelty thing that's basically like, well, you know these superheroes exist, now they're all going to fight each other. I guarantee, like, 50% of the fans that went in to watch Civil War didn't really know much of the backstory or context behind all of the plot threads going on in Civil War, right? Probably 60% didn't know. Maybe just a hazy idea of it. So I agree with that, but I'm saying Infinity Stones help in the sense that it's a thread that, like, can build to... How do you say? It's a more continuous thread. Like, Civil War felt more like a one-off, whereas the Infinity Stones are something that kind of, like, binds everything together. So, Civil War is easiest in that, like, it's not based around a villain, right? The villain is the other superheroes. So there's not something new that you're really having to introduce. Whereas, you know, if you're trying to build up to another new big villain, or, like, some major event, like in Infinity War, like in Endgame, etc., then generally I do think you do need some pieces of information that are building to that villain, or to that event, that are easily slipped in, that don't really dictate the story to the point that you need to watch every movie, but they're present enough that you can kind of get the general idea of what's important and what might happen. RKE says, what do you think will happen when Zoro... Like, by the way, a simple example is Civil War. I think Civil War works as a one-off in the same way that Spider-Man No Way Home will work, because it's a simple... You're not really requiring much setup for it. You're just saying, well, what if we had this concept? I know Civil War is based off of a Marvel Comics event, right? But in the context of the MCU, you could have walked in blind to Civil War and still just enjoyed it for superheroes fighting superheroes. Same thing with Spider-Man No Way Home. I haven't seen the newest Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Far From Home. I saw Spider-Man Homecoming, but I haven't seen Far From Home. I'm still probably going to go fucking watch Spider-Man No Way Home, because it's a crossover event with, like, it's the craziest shit ever, right? It's going to cross over with the first Spider-Man series, the good one, and then the second Spider-Man series, the Amazing Spider-Man, the bad one, and then the current Spider-Man series, which is the decent one. So, sorry if I upset some people with that, but, like, you know, that's pretty cool. You're going to watch that for the novelty of it. You don't really need setup. But stuff like Infinity War, stuff like Endgame, you do need that setup. RKE says, what do you think will happen when Zoro and Mihawk clash? Will they split the sky or shake the Grand Line like Mihawk and Shanks did in the day? I would love to see Zoro and Mihawk clash and split the sky. If Zoro gets a sky-splitting moment in the series, I would like it to be against Mihawk. I would not like to see that with Zoro against any... I would like that to be his first sky splitting if it were to happen for his character. If it's something more so symbolic that Oda wants to save for Luffy, then that's also entirely a possibility. And it's just like a Yonko thing to split the sky, not necessarily because other characters aren't strong enough to do it, but just because symbolically it fits better for the Yonko to do it. Muhammad Saeed says, I agree with what you said about Nami's parents and Oda's back. Oda can't do backstory for her, but I think if they aren't important, he can just say they're dead in the SBS or something, so I think he's saving it. Yeah, I think it's entirely possible. I'm not writing off that Nami might have important lineage, because again, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp all have important lineage at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nami did it. And the fact that he hasn't said anything in SBS, yeah, maybe it's entirely possible that she did. Young Doka says that Yamato is disabling bombs because Momo will only be able to hold the island for some time. Yes, that is 100%. So the raid failing video, which is hopefully coming out on Saturday, does reference this as a point. That is something small. Like, it's funny because each chapter that comes out, more people point to like, okay, so this seems like we're still on trajectory for Beast Pirates winning here, or Beast Pirates losing here, Straw Hats winning. But then, like, you know, every couple chapters I see something, I'm like, why would you do that if the Straw Hats are going to win here? So Yamato and the bombs, excellent example, because basically, listen, and I mentioned this a little bit in my chapter review as well, but I guess we could save it more extensively discussed for the video, but I mean, the long and short of it is just, if you want to create a doomsday scenario of Momo needs to hold this up, okay, if Onigashima is coming down, if Onigashima is destined to come down, right? If Onigashima is destined to come down, if Onigashima is not destined to come down, right? If Momo is going to successfully hold this island and prevent it from ever coming down, then you would never disable the bombs in it because that adds to the doomsday scenario, right? It's like, if this comes down, it's all over. So Momonosuke needs to keep it up, right? So if Onigashima is never coming down, Oda would not disable the bombs, okay? Flip side, if Onigashima is going to come down, then you want Momonosuke's holding it up to mean something, so you put a timer on it, which is hold it up until Yamato can disable the bombs, right? So to me, that's a point towards the idea that Onigashima is going to come down. And if it is going to come down, that means that the Beast Pirates are going to win. John Ross says, Sugar's tour for... Obviously, there needs to be more reasons than that for the raid failing, but just wait for Saturday's video. John Ross says, Sugar's tour fruit plus Mirror World fruit plus the Marines plus Pudding's memory fruit equals 1984. Yeah. Holy shit. That's basically completely 1984. That's absolute information control of the people. This is basically the ultimate combo. Also, I wonder how Pudding's fruit and Sugar's fruit interacts. And the Mirror's fruits have the ability to spy on everybody and easily, and there's no way for them to really do anything in opposition to it. So I think that the world government, if they got their hands on those fruits, then we'd be in for some interesting stuff. Ghassan Abunara says, your Zoro Hiyori comment made me curious. Do you have any One Piece ships you would support? That could be possible filler video or stream down the line. A One Piece ships video, I think that's something I would do if, like, I would make it, like, a fun goal or something like that, you know, because it is a filler video, essentially. It's a fun goal. I would do it basically as a fun video at some point. It would probably get a lot of views because it would just be funny. People would be like, why is Moch talking about this? I wonder what... why is he talking about One Piece ships? I don't have particularly strong One Piece ships. I guess I do a little bit. Like, there's certain things in my mind that just make sense. Like, I'm like, yeah, Sanji Pudding. That just it makes sense to me. And sometimes I say, oh yeah, Frankie Robin. That just makes sense to me. And then people are really shocked. And they're like, wait, don't you mean Robin Jinbei? Or don't you mean, like, I've heard Robin Law? Don't you mean Robin Zoro? So then I'm like, oh, well, fuck, I'm confused now. I thought we all read Water 7 in Enies Lobby, but I guess some of us skipped it, you know? So, Trevin McKell says, do you think CP0 will kidnap Tama and take her to Vegapunk so he can replicate her devil fruit powers and, in a sense, create an artificial Poseidon? That's very interesting. I mean, I never really thought about it in the sense of creating an artificial Poseidon. I don't know if it works that way, but that would be kind of crazy. I don't know if we've seen CP0 take a particular... Like, they're aware of all of the effects that Tama's having. They're talking about the numbers, how she shifted things from 12,000 to 8,000, etc. I don't know if they're that aware that, like if they're that focused on her, like they would be with, like, you know, Anika Robin. Like, this, it seems they are. One sec. John Ross says, add on Eno's busted observation hockey and orbital nuking to the 1984 scenario. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in One Piece where if it all kind of came together, right, and the right people all wanted to abuse the same thing at about the same time, conjunction of powers, then people would be pretty screwed. Andrew Hunter says, will you make an apology to the video to the Zoro killing Kaido fans when Zoro kills Kaido? Listen, there's only two options of Zoro killing Kaido. When I made the Zoro killing Kaido video, right? When I made the Zoro killing Kaido video, people forget, I didn't say it's an impossible theory. I did not say it's an impossible theory. I said it's possible. I said what's impossible to me, the thing that won't happen for sure, is Zoro being the one, like, there's only two routes, right? There's only two routes. Zoro defeats Kaido and kills Kaido. Somebody else defeats Kaido and then Zoro kills Kaido, right? So there's two parts, right? Who defeats Kaido and who kills him, okay? So scenario one, like, let's get it down to the very basics. Some people believe Zoro will be the one to defeat Kaido and kill Kaido, okay? Then some people believe that somebody else, probably Luffy, will defeat Kaido, and then Zoro will kill Kaido, okay? So let's be very clear about that. Those are the two routes. And it's actually very simple because there's only two parts to it, right? Who's defeating him, who's killing him, right? Either it's Zoro or Luffy Zoro, or like X-Person Zoro, right? And all I said in the Zoro killing Kaido videos was that I think it's impossible, I don't think it will ever happen, that Zoro defeats Kaido and kills Kaido. I think that that's impossible. I don't think Zoro's going to be the one defeating Kaido and killing him, okay? That's what I said. If I turn out to be wrong on that, I will apologize. I'll be like, I was totally wrong, I misread the series, I misread the arc, I did not realize that things were set up for Zoro to defeat Kaido instead of Luffy, and Zoro to kill Kaido, okay? If it's the other route, I actually said in the video, it's possible. I said it's possible Luffy defeats Kaido and then Zoro kills Kaido. So there's nothing for me to apologize for there. All I said was that if that happens, then that's basically the biggest pussy move Zoro's going to ever pull in the series, and probably the biggest pussy move for any major main character in the entire series, right? That's not a villain like Blackbeard or whatever. But it would be a very Blackbeard-esque move, finishing off an already defeated opponent. There's nothing badass about that. So if anything, like, I would probably be apologizing to Zoro fans in the sense that, like, I'm sorry your character just got, like, absolutely shit on by Oda by making him out to be such a bitch. You know, like, actually pulling a Blackbeard move of literally finishing off a defeated opponent. You know, if you think that somebody else defeats Kaido, and then Zoro comes in and kills him, so then you're proud of Zoro being Marine Guard number 2, or like Blackbeard, I guess, at MarineFord. Worse than Blackbeard at MarineFord, I guess, because at least Blackbeard and his crew all together, I guess, defeated Kaido, essentially. But you're talking about this Kaido already being defeated, and then Zoro coming up and killing him. Like, imagine Whitebeard, like, he's finished by the Blackbeard crew, he's still standing, maybe just, like, wobbling around, and then, like, Shiryu comes up and just, like, lops off his head or something, like, or, like, stabs him in the back. Or, like, Laffy does, like, or Blackbeard does, like, that's a scummy move. That's not impressive. That's not impressive. Nobody's looking what Blackbeard did to Whitebeard at MarineFord and being like, wow, that was a badass moment by Blackbeard. And even that would be more badass than the scenario you're talking about with Zoro, because that scenario has you know, the opponent already completely defeated. At least Blackbeard and his crew, like, finished off Whitebeard. You're talking about Zoro, like, just killing someone who's already been defeated and finished off. So, you know, those are the two scenarios. And it was funny when I dropped that Zoro killing Kaido video, because I got so many, like, rants and stuff on Twitter of people being like, more just strawmanning, like, that's not how it would happen. And then they'd go into their scenario, and what do you know? Any scenario you talk about falls into one of those two categories. I'm not strawmanning. There's only two options. I might be exaggerating a little bit for, like, hyperbole and, like, comedy, right? I might be exaggerating a little bit. You know, like Marine Guard number 2, it's funny to think about. But it doesn't change the reality of the situation, which is there's literally only two options, right? Either you think Zoro is defeating and killing Kaido, or you think someone else is defeating Kaido and then Zoro's killing him. The first option, I think, is very unlikely, practically impossible. The second option, possible, just make Zoro a bitch. And then people are like, Mord, you're strawmanning. It's your made-up scenario. It's like, no, these are the only two. There's not another third scenario. Like, it's who defeats him, who kills him, right? That's it. It's like a quadrant. There's like four things at play here. It's not even that complicated. I can't believe I had to talk about Zoro versus Kaido for so long again. No, I'm out of water. Young Doka says, you missed my second part. Momo will fall down as Odin. I'm sorry I missed your second part, but that's interesting. Yeah, Momo will fall down as Odin. I mean, Momo would have to fall in that scenario, right? With Onigashima coming down. Leman says, I've always liked how you favor the Luffy and Nami ship because that reminds me a lot of the dynamic of me and my partner. It makes me feel validated, lol. Well, I mean, that's nice to hear. That's got to be a fun dynamic. I hope you're not as dumb as Luffy, and I hope she doesn't hit you as much as Nami does. But that's interesting. I have always had a soft spot for the Luffy Nami dynamic. I mean, I guess you could say it's a soft spot, but like I also genuinely believe that that's, how do I say this? Nami was not one of my favorite characters for like a long time. Like I preferred I like Robin as a character better than Nami for good portion of the series. I think all the way up to the end of pre-time skip. But even during that time, like Nami was never like high up. It took a while. Like Nami kind of grew on me on rereads and kind of like just over time, over the New World. Like you just gain a greater appreciation. So I like to say I'm not biased when I say I think that I've always believed in the Luffy Nami. Like if Luffy were to have any partner, I have always felt it would be Nami, and I felt that before I started liking Nami as a character that much. I never disliked Nami. I think it's hard to dislike Nami. I think Nami's been a great character for such a long time. But she was never one of my favorites necessarily in the series. But to me, it always just also made sense. Even when Boa Hancock was being pushed and stuff, I always understood that it's the Boa Hancock stuff that's a gag, and I don't think Oda treats romance as much as a gag in this series, at least for the characters that matter. Keenan says, was always obvious that the raid suit was designed for only Sanji because Chopper and Luffy couldn't activate it, but I'd never imagined it would make him that strong even while not using it. Love the streams, keep doing your thing. Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot. Is Keenan B a mod? Someone should mod Keenan B. By someone, I mean me. Where's Keenan at? Let me mod Keenan. And fucking Koopy Koop's a mod. And there's no reason Keenan B should not be a mod. I'm so mad Koopy Koop's still a mod. Koopy Koop being a mod is just like a sign of my own failure. It's so sad. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. Alright. Back to it. Yeah, I've never imagined it would make him that strong even while not using it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us... See, that's the thing. When Sanji got the raid suit and people were saying, how strong does this make Sanji? I actually never, I didn't feel like the raid suit made Sanji that much stronger from what we saw. And I'm talking manga only. I don't give a fuck what happened in the anime. The high-produced fan fiction, right? I don't give a fuck what happened in the anime, okay? So, to me, basically, Sanji in the raid suit... Sanji in the raid suit... I didn't get the sense that it just put him on... I didn't read Sanji putting on the raid suit as, Luffy getting gear... when Luffy got gear 4th, it was holy shit, things skyrocketed right there. Suddenly he's, tossing Doflamingo around all of Dressrosa like he's nothing, right? When Sanji got the raid suit, in fact, the first thing he did was, lose a clash to page 1. I think that was, the first thing he did. Maybe the second thing. Obviously, he beat page 1 in the end, but I didn't feel like the raid suit was, a huge, huge jump. I think a lot of people assumed it was a huge jump because we kind of, came into it with the assumption that, Sanji's supposed to catch up in strength and he's supposed to be defeating Yonko commanders soon. So let's just go safe side and assume that the raid suit's a big deal. And I think that was an unfair assumption because, as it turns out, the real power-up, right, is actually Sanji's body itself changing. So the raid suit is an accessory, practically. Obviously, it has its advantages: increased speed, increased durability, increased protection from him, and, of course, the invisibility. But the real advantage seems to be Sanji's actual body getting the exoskeleton and becoming a lot stronger. So, and the raid suit seems to have been a trigger for that. So... yeah, I think that there's not much more to say on that. It's just that I did always question why, when Sanji got the raid suit, why, if it was, a really big power-up, why was it first introduced against, page 1 of all people, who's not a big deal? Why did we not get to see the full fight? It didn't feel like Oda cared that much about really showing off the raid suit as being strong. So, it makes sense. in retrospect, if the big power-up was, like, that was just a stepping stone, a little gateway drug, if you will, to Sanji's whole body upgrading. Zane Blalock says, okay, so I'm not in the ZKK camp, but only 2 routes. Is it not possible for tag team combo attack finisher? Tag team combo attack finisher. Okay, so let alone that's literally never happened as a way to take down a final boss in a One Piece series ever. Like, One Piece fights are always, like, it's literally all, like, if you want to get really technical and be like, okay, well, what if both of them do it at the same time? Yes, I guess that's a third route. It's just something that it's not precedented. It's just literally not the way that Oda ever writes fights, right? Like, even if you get down to big team battles, like versus the Pacifista, it's just always Luffy that finishes the fight, right? It's just always Luffy that finishes the fight. It just comes down to Luffy every time. So I just, like, what do Zoro fans like? Do you think that Zoro's going to be defeating the final blow in conjunction with Luffy? First of all, I think from everything I've seen, the vast majority of ZKK fans don't argue that. Most of them argue, the vast majority of responses I've seen seem to argue Luffy will defeat him and Zoro will execute him, which I've said and stuck to is that's not impressive. That's not impressive, and you should not be proud if the character does that, because that's just, that's something you would expect of a Blackbeard, right? Flip side is like the really hardcore people who say, no, Zoro's so great that Zoro is going to defeat Kaido. Like, he's going to be the main one, defeating him, dealing the final blow, and then killing him in the process, right? What you're talking about is more so outlier stuff, which was not really most of the responses I was getting. Outlier stuff of like, okay, maybe it's like Luffy and Zoro doing like, like a 300-pound cannon or something like they did, right? Sure, you could say that, and then maybe like Kaido cuts off his head afterwards or something along those lines. But that's generally not what ZKK argues, and that's usually it's either people who are very hardcore saying the fight's going to come down to Zoro versus Kaido, or it's people basically saying Luffy will win like usual, but Zoro's going to be the one who gets to kill him. It's just like, I don't see much of people saying, well, a combo finisher move or something like that. Who is generally going to, like, it's always single attacks that finish off the villain in One Piece. So who's giving that final blow? Is it Zoro? If it's not Zoro, then he's just an executioner, and if he's just an executioner finishing off a defeated opponent, then he's not a badass. Keishan Auguste says, if the Grand Fleet doesn't show up, do you think the price of Wano will take up arms to defend the people? People of Wano will take up arms to defend their country? Also, why hasn't Working showed up to help yet? Okay, so you got some typos here. Working. Why hasn't Working showed up to help yet? Why hasn't Working? I literally can't tell. Working. So that's probably not Shanks. Why hasn't Shanks not working? I don't know what working means. I'm trying to... Weevil? Weevil's the only other character with a W that I can think of. I can't tell what that... I'll focus on the first part. Do I think the people of Wano will take up arms to defend their country? They might. The trouble is that if the Marines are if any sort of strong Marines were sent at all, then the people of Wano should not be able to. Because the strongest fighters of Wano should all be in Onigashima at the moment, right? Strongest fighters of Wano are probably in Onigashima. So the people of Wano are probably not going to be the strongest. Like, how many people out there can, like, take on vice admirals? And if they send an admiral, who's dealing with that, right? Hackbox says, will there be a Gear 6? Also, who do you reckon has the biggest dong in One Piece? I think it could be Kaido, but my mate says San Juan Wolf. Yeah, no, it would be San Juan Wolf. Why would it be Kaido? You think Kaido in dragon form? It's probably just San Juan Wolf. Go with the easiest option. I guess Luffy, if you really wanted to, like, inflate, maybe? Probably wouldn't reach San Juan Wolf size. I don't know. Chilangu96 says, what if Luffy beats Kaido and captures him? Hosts an execution, then Zoro swings the sword to chop off his head on orders from Zoro, his captain. Yes, Zoro would play the role of Marine Guard number 2. Amazing. I just don't get why are you looking forward to that? Why is that like, why aren't you excited about the idea of like Zoro actually fighting? Like, I literally don't get this obsession. It's like, oh boy, if Zoro, if this arc plays out how I think it'll play out, then at the end of this, Zoro will get to play the role of Marine Guard number 2 from Chapter 1 in the series, and I've always been really inspired and excited by that second Marine Guard from Chapter 1 in the series. Like, why are you excited about, why aren't you excited about, Zoro, like, mastering Ashura or mastering Conqueror's Haki or something, like, getting a second round against Kaido? I would love to see Zoro have a second round against Kaido where he actually not only reopens Kaido's wound or whatever, but like gets Kaido to acknowledge him as a swordsman. If you go back to the reactions, right, like one thing Kaido said that's still stuck is that he believes there'll never be another samurai as strong as Odin, right? Zoro's kind of been paralleling Odin in many ways throughout the Wano arc. He still didn't quite get that reaction out of him, and then Zoro himself was dissatisfied with what he was able to do against Kaido after using Ashura. Zoro himself even said, like, oh, I wasn't even able to make you fall to your knees. Something along those lines, right? So Kaido, he acknowledged Zoro, but he still has that bar of Odin, and he hasn't acknowledged any swordsman at that level yet. And Zoro still wants to have been able to do more against Kaido. So to me, it makes sense that they'll have another matchup. Why are you not excited about, like, Zoro fighting Kaido again and having, like, a big feat? I just don't get this idea that, like, well, the coolest scene for Zoro would be, like, there's so much talk and discussion and, like, looking forward to a scene of Zoro, like, just cutting off Kaido's head after Kaido's, like, not a threat anymore. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Do you guys watch, I don't know. I won't say anything. Okay, Sean Augustus just said Soge King. Thanks, man. Salvador Robles says, hey bro, do you think there will be a Straw at CP0 confrontation at the end of Wano? The fact that they're confirmed after Robin foreshadows it, right? So confrontation could mean many things. I don't like the idea that there'll be second batches of fights after the Beast Pirates are defeated. So I don't like the idea that, like, Kaido's defeated, the Tobiropo are defeated, the Calamities are defeated, and then they start fighting CP0. I don't like that. But a confrontation could mean many different things. I would think it's cool if there's a confrontation. Or if even during the Onigashima battle itself, like before Kaido is defeated, before the Calamities are defeated, maybe Brook versus the CP0, even Chopper, Usopp versus the CP0 to protect Robin. That type of stuff is cool. I don't personally like the idea of post Kaido and the Beast Pirates, then CP0 and Marines as like this whole other round to it. Young Doka, thanks a lot. I'm not a fan of ZKK but what if Luffy beats Kaido and Big Mom is trying to get away, so Luffy chases her, and then Kaido rampages after loss, then ZKK. But then in that case, that's just Zoro beating Kaido, right? Isn't that the same thing? That's just Zoro beating Kaido. Like, it would just be Luffy beats Kaido and then Zoro also beats Kaido. But really, who would get the credit at the end of the day? Zoro would get, because, like, the person who would get the credit at the end of the day is the one who, like, actually beats it. Like, all that would be said was that, well, Kaido wasn't, like, fully beaten that first time because Kaido got back up, right? And kept rampaging, and then Zoro had to come in and actually beat him, you know? Like, it's the same, like, if someone puts Kaido to sleep, like, how would the world react to it? Well, Kaido was defeated and killed by Zoro, the first mate of Straw Hat Luffy, and then it's Zoro's the one who gets the credit for Kaido, basically, right? If you're saying Luffy, and I doubt that Oda would ever set up a scenario where Luffy beats Big Mom. To me, it doesn't make sense to beat Big Mom after Kaido, because Big Mom has clearly been portrayed as, like, Kaido has been clearly portrayed as the boss, and Big Mom is the secondary boss. Steals your skills. T.O. says, Hancock and Luffy's gag, but potentially can become real. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I don't think it's, like, necessarily impossible. I just don't think that that's, like, how Oda's, like, it just doesn't seem like a very real portrayal to me. To me, that just does seem like the definition of a gag. It's written a little differently than how Oda's portrayed, Sanji versus Pudding, which was never treated as a gag. Even if you want to say, you can say with Zoro, you can say Zoro and Tashigi, that was never treated as a gag. That was always, like, a very interesting relationship that was building up. And if you want to say, well, no, Zoro and Hiyori or something like that, that was never a gag. Like, I just don't think that Oda would just write something that's such like a basic gag into, like, a serious romance. but it's possible. I don't know. I'm just saying my feeling at the moment. Hancock doesn't really make sense to me. It just makes sense as a gag. Leman says she literally calls me monkey law, so that's it's a funny thing. Someone said more Jade Zoro. You guys don't even. I literally have a video that's like gushing over Zoro for like 20 minutes. It's a full Zoro analysis video saying like there's no fictional character like Zoro. The thumbnail even calls Zoro like greatest character, which you can interpret as hyperbole or whatever. It is a thumbnail, but like if you think I hate Zoro, I just hate the idea of Zoro killing Kaido. What? Like it doesn't mean I hate Zoro. That's so different. Like I could really like Luffy, and if you told me the idea of like Luffy beating Nami or something like that, I'd be like, I don't like that idea. And then you were like, no, it'll be really hype. Trust me, bro. Think about it. I'm like, I'm thinking about it. That doesn't sound hype no matter how you spin it to me. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but I'm just saying, like, just you can like a character and not like every theory that comes out about that character. Especially if it's just like, if it feels like that theory is spearheaded by people who, like, really just want, like, that character to get hype no matter what and aren't that concerned with, like, storytelling, which is to me what ZKK feels like. I mean, that's maybe like a mischaracterization of the whole movement. But, yeah, I do feel like the general underlying thing is basically just, like, an obsession with, like, well, an obsession with the character, which is different. Like, so much love for Zoro that it's like, once you get the idea in your head that, like, Zoro's going to be the one to beat the boss of the arc, to kill the boss of the arc, not Luffy, and this time it's Zoro's time to shine and not Luffy, even though that's just, like, not how One Piece works, then, like, it's just aggressive, and it's just, like, it has to be Zoro versus Kaido. Keyshawn Augusta says, I was saying, when was Sogeking showing up? Oh, instead of working. Okay, my bad. I didn't realize that you were the one who made that same previous comment. Got it mixed up with another one. When Sogeking was showing up. And do you think that the Lurking Legend is on his way to Wano? Lurking Legend, I don't know if we're ever gonna... I don't know. I don't even know what Oda was talking about with the Lurking Legend at this point. I don't even know what Oda was talking about. Maybe the Lurking Legend was rocks and us finding out about rocks, but it doesn't quite fit with the way Oda phrased that whole scenario. It didn't sound like Oda was hinting at rocks. It sounded like he was hinting at, like, an existing legend in One Piece that we're going to meet. So in that case, like, what, Big Mom? But Big Mom's not a lurking legend. Or sorry, Kaido's not a lurking legend. He's like the opposite of lurking. He's, like, out and about and fucking up everybody this way and that on Wano. So I don't really know. When is Sogeking showing up? I don't know. So Sogeking's tricky because there's two ways you can look at it, which is basically, like, either Usopp as a character has progressed to a point that he will never need Sogeking again, and all the future moments from Sogeking. I'll get to the cigar for super chat in a second. My bad. So Sogeking, either all of Usopp's Usopp came out of the time skip being past that and no longer needing Sogeking, and all of Usopp's future development and fights will be not involving the Sogeking persona because it'll just be, Usopp himself moving forward. So that's an option, but then the other option is also just, like, Oda saving Sogeking to come out again when, like, Usopp really needs it. And we just haven't seen Usopp set up for a fight like that just yet. So Cigar Furk says, if Zoro was king versus king, was not under influence of Zomeds, I could have believed Punk Hazard Dragon fight where Luffy and Zoro defeat Kaido. Now ZKK seems to be gone. I wouldn't put that forward as a reason for why Zoro can't fight Kaido, because the meds will just last for however long the night needs to be, right? The meds will just last for however long the night needs to be, and so, like, Zoro could fight King and then move on, in my opinion. Talking Zoro in a Sanji chapter. Yeah, because people were giving me Zoro questions. What do you want me to do, not respond to them? Blue Shakespeare says Kaido will be betrayed by Big Mom. Sparrow's plan. Sparrow's plan? That's how he will die, but only after Luffy wears him down. Kaido being killed by Big Mom would be crazy. That'd be pretty nuts. That'd be pretty nuts. I do have a video on Big Mom betraying Kaido, but I would not have thought, like, in a way that, like, Big Mom kills Kaido. That'd be pretty crazy. I personally think Big Mom goes down before Kaido, so I don't personally agree with that, but that's interesting. Logie Dogie, long time no see. BBW, Brook Bone Wano. Yes, very, very funny. Agreed, the hag foreshadowing it. I don't know. Big Mom's got a plan. We know Big Mom's got a plan. Kenzie says, saw your take / power skill on the Admirals on the Red Force podcast. What can happen in the story to change your mind? What did I say on the Admirals? I just said I don't think that, like... I kind of loosely group Yon... Here's my take. Oh, wait, let me cover it. I'll get to this super chat in a sec from Goku Kakarot. My take on the Admirals for power scaling and stuff, like, I think, in my opinion, I don't think this is crazy. Above the Yonko commanders, clearly, in my opinion. As for Admirals versus Yonko, I just think we need more data. Because the Yonko certainly have more hype and reputation from how they've been talked about over the course of the series, right? No doubt. Admirals Yonko have more hype and reputation. But at the same time, we got to see how the Admirals do against Old Whitebeard, and that wasn't bad. The one problem is that we don't really know how Old Whitebeard stacks up against Yonko, like other Yonko, right? All we got was like a clash with Shanks. So until we can kind of... And then there's also debates about how well the Admirals were doing against Old Whitebeard, right? Like different people have different interpretations on that. So until we kind of see how the Admirals do against the Yonko, then there's not much really to say on that, right? There's not really much to say on Admirals versus Yonko. It's undoubtable that the Yonko have more talk and reputation and hype around them. As for how the Admirals stack up against them, I think we just need some more data points. So at the moment, the way I power scale is I loosely put them in the same tier, roughly, of like general top tier. But my personal opinion is that Yonko would generally gravitate towards the higher end of that tier, and Admirals not so much. I do view Akainu as probably being... But it's hazy. In my mind, I think like Akainu could go toe-to-toe or have a shot against any of the Yonko, maybe beat the Yonko. It just gets trickier after that. I'm like, would I say the same thing about Fujitora? Probably not. So that's basically it. Goku Kakarot asks, do you think Gear 5th was foreshadowed by Chapter 1028? No. How was Gear 5th foreshadowed by Chapter Cover 1028? Wasn't Chapter 1000 cover Smash Bros? Wasn't it Smash Bros? I think it was just a fun Smash Bros spread. Angel says, what can you attribute to your skills in analyzing movies, shows, etc.? Oh, thanks. Was it something you were into growing up or after you graduated high school? I think I watched a lot and read a lot when I was growing up, for sure. Read a lot when I was growing up. English was all, like, English, reading comprehension, those classes, etc. were always my best subject by far. So I think I just, like, if you have a high interest in that sort of thing, then you just consume more and then you get a better framework for, like, how you think certain things work. You know, you just pick up on more as you do it. And then, obviously, then you take classes in college and stuff that help refine that. And that's basically the gist of it, but I do think, like, a lot of it is just going to be innate to, like, how much time you put into it beforehand, right? And it's two aspects, right? Because there's a lot of people that do read a lot and watch a lot that you can tell don't have, like, a solid framework because it's two parts. Part of it is just, like, how much you take in, and then two is how much you think about how that stuff works, because that's a big part of it, right? Like, how much active thinking do you do in terms of, like, one, okay, if you like this, what I personally find is that a lot of times when people really like something, they don't go in depth into, like, breaking down what are the pieces, what are the elements of storytelling that went into why you liked that particular thing. And, like, that doesn't even apply to a story as a whole. You can narrow it down to a single scenes. Like, sometimes people are like, I really liked, if you use One Piece as an example, sometimes people are like, I really liked the nothing happened scene. Or I really liked the Straw Hats declaring war. Or I really liked Luffy and Nami's, like, help me moment, right? People really like those scenes, and then they'll get to the gist of it, which is, like, very emotional, very heart-wrenching, etc. And then they won't get much further than that. And then that's, I think, usually where the difference is, where, like, I think that, like, if you want to be good at this sort of thing, right, then all you have to do is the next step of, like, anytime you like something or take an interest of something, really try and break down what were all of the story elements that went into why this scene was more emotional or impactful than another scene. And then you can get into, okay, how was this whole storyline constructed? What are the differences between this storyline versus other storylines? Why was it constructed in a manner that made me enjoy it more, or it felt more memorable, or more emotional, or more dramatic to me than other storylines, right? And people do that in a vague way. People do that in a vague way. But I rarely see people go in depth into it, right? Really in depth into the pieces of what's making a storyline a storyline. Many people don't even realize like 3-act structures, which is very, very basic. Like 3-act structures are very, very, very common in most narratives. Most One Piece arcs follow that structure. Most people couldn't tell you that. And that's something that you shouldn't even need to like have to read a book or like take a course to figure out. If you actively think about stories, you should very quickly be able to figure out, after breaking down in your head some stories that you like, that okay, most of them follow a very similar structure, and you can figure out the beats that are supposed to happen for part 1, part 2, part 3, stuff like that. So that's part of it, and then the other part is like, yeah, like themes and stuff like that. That is also like, that's reading into individual stories. So like one is basically breaking down like general parts of storytelling, right? And then the other is basically, if you just have to be willing to like read a little closer and like actually actively think about like what's being said at every beat of the story and keep trying to build a bigger picture out of it. And that's how you pick up on the themes and stories. So, I mean, that's basically it. It's, you consume a lot, right? Consume a lot. Be very active in your thinking in terms of like everything that you consume, and try and compare and try and break down as much as possible. And like try and like, be inwardly reflective of like why you like something, or what's being said in the story, or like keep going over parts of like, okay, making sure you fully understand, piecing together bigger pictures. And then lastly, you probably do need like formal education to a degree to help guide you in some sense, right? That's basically it. Kashan Auguste says, who gets Kinemon's wife? Oh, that's hilarious. I believe that she'll remain a widow afterwards. Christian Avery Griffin. Grown-up Momonosuke might snag her. Christian Avery Griffins is more or less convinced Yamato will join now. No, nothing has changed. Chino Wong says, the pirate hero Whitebeard's attack took 3 admirals. Oh, have I opened up some power scaling debates in here? That's funny. Miss Super Chat from the Fatty2497. Thank you, Phantom Grey Fire. Not big fan of ZKK, but what if Zoro kills Kaido? I mean, yeah, again, if Zoro kills Kaido, if it's the first route that I said, then I will have to apologize. Like, if Zoro actually is the guy that defeats Kaido and then kills him, I will actually apologize. If it's the other route of, like, Luffy beats him and then Zoro executes him, I already acknowledge that's a possibility. Like, I've already discussed that. There's nothing for me to really say on that. I just don't think it'll be good for the arc, or good for the character. Ceci Rapalini says, congrats on your prediction of the Marines coming to Wano. Oh, thank you. That's not even something that I've really, like, talked much about, because it's just something I've repeatedly mentioned as, like, people being like, hey, if the raid fails, how did the Strahd survive? And I've always said, I personally believe the Marines will come to Wano. I've always believed the Marines will come to Wano. And I've always believed that they would provide interference, right? That's something I've always said. I've never made like a full-on theory video on it. It's more something that I've mentioned in other theory videos. So I'm glad that somebody's at least acknowledging that that's something I've said for a while. But at the same time, it's not like a crazy theory. Other people have said that as well, right? So I'm not going to claim I'm the only person who said that the Marines are coming to Wano. But at the same time, I think I'm the only person, at least recently, probably among One Piece YouTubers, who's maintained that the Marines are going to come to Wano. But, then you might also, I know other people have also mentioned, like, well, the Marines could come up after Wano. We still don't know the full role of the involvement in the Marines in Wano. So I'm not going to, like, really claim that, like, oh, this was something that I called that was, like, particularly special. It just fits into something that I've personally believed for a while, that, like, I still think the Marines are coming to Wano, and then they eventually did. Adam Meza says, is One Piece your favorite story so far, at least? Yes, of course. If not, what is? Greatest analysis videos, BTW. Thanks, Mr. Morge. Thanks, I appreciate it. Yes, One Piece is by far my favorite story, my favorite work of fiction. There's, like, nothing really close for me in terms of One Piece. Even if, like, that's what I'm trying to explain, because people are like, well, why are you not liking Wano so much, etc. I probably love One Piece as a story more than 90% of you. I want to say that. I think confidently I'd say that. So when I say that I'm not particularly liking this current arc, or a lot of aspects at least of this current arc, and I'm enjoying other aspects of the arc, but not all of the aspects, that's not like me bashing One Piece. One Piece will always probably, like, it would take so much for One Piece to stop being my favorite story, because it's just been a part of my life for so long. I've talked about it for so long. I've like thought about it more than any other story. Like it's just different. It's been a bigger part of my life than any other story, right? Yeah, I mean that's basically it. Goku Kakarot says, when are you gonna admit the raid gonna fail too long? I will admit the raid isn't gonna fail if we get to the end of Act 3. Like, if there's a thing that says, Act 3 end, obviously if Luffy defeats Kaido, then I'll admit that the raid isn't gonna fail. Like, I'm not gonna be here like, okay, Wano ended, Luffy beat Kaido, and the raid's still gonna fail. But in the short term, right, things we can expect sooner or later to happen, if Act 3 ends and the raid doesn't fail, then I'll obviously admit that I was wrong. I'm waiting until the end of Act 3. And then there's like rumors that went around a little bit that like, hey, some Kabuki plays only have 3 acts, so maybe we won't get to 5 acts. But then at the same time, Japanese people came in and said that no, that's not true. Most Kabuki plays have 5 acts, and specifically Kabuki plays about samurai have 5 acts. So I think, as far as I know, maybe I gotta ask Ohara a little bit more to clarify what Japanese people say over there. But as far as I know, Japanese people came in on Twitter and cleared up that Kabuki plays do have 5 acts, like we all believed from the start. So, yeah, to me it's just like, why would I say, I'm not going to be like, okay, just give up, the raid's not going to fail, if we're still in the middle of a 3rd act that's about tragedy, traditionally. And then, if this act ends, then yeah, and there's no raid fail, and there's some other tragedy, like, I don't know, maybe Kinemon dying turns out to be the tragedy of the arc, or of the act, and the act ends, then obviously I'll be like, yeah, the raid's not going to fail, because it's not going to fail in Act 4, right? Keegan Z says, Morge, what should I eat for dinner? Pizza's a good choice. Why don't you get pizza? Get some pizza. Miriam, the best subscriber, says, holy shit, I went to go see houses, and you're still here, Mr. Morge, and even more surprising, the stream hasn't crashed. Congrats. Wow, that's... I don't know what to say to that, other than I've had Ethernet now for the last 2 streams, so there's no need to expect streams to crash anymore. Alright? Oof says, if you never heard of the 5-act structure and the... Oof? Is this that Oof? There's no way you're that Oof. There's no way you're that Oof. Oof says, if you never heard of the 5-act structure and the tragedy in Act 3, you wouldn't think about the raid failing. Oof, that is not true, because please go back, please go back and watch my first video on why, the video is not called Why the Raid Will Fail, the video back then was called Why the Fire Festival Will End in Failure. I didn't know the raid would become the new like the new jargon for how we talk about this Onigashima battle, right? Now it's turned into the raid. Way back, because this was so long back. Back then, it was called a few things. It was called, what about the Fire Festival? What about the Fire Battle? What about the Final Battle? What about the Raid, right? We were calling it different things. If you go back and watch that video, I give a very comprehensive argument for why I believe that the Fire Festival, the Raid, would end in failure. And I just used the 3-act structure, or the 5-act structure, as one of the reasons. As, like, a supporting reason. It's like, oh, also, interestingly, Wano has this. But aside from that, no. From the very beginning, I believed that the raid would fail because that's ignoring the 5-act structure, right? That's specific to Wano. Most One Piece arcs do follow that structure of the mission failing halfway through the arc. So what's interesting is you can talk about the 5-act structure, but most One Piece arcs do in fact follow a 3-act structure. The 5-act structure in Wano is just kind of like a similar twist on that, in that like you could call Act 1 and 2. Well, I guess you kind of need a visualization for this, right? Consider the usual 3-act structure of a One Piece arc as essentially being Act 1, setup, Act 2, failure, Act 3, rise back up in victory. A 5-act structure is kind of just that same structure, but just like splitting it up slightly more. So Act 1 and 2 setup, Act 3 failure, Act 4 and 5 victory. So it's actually the same setup, just the first and last parts are just split up slightly more into sort of prologue, epilogue sections. John Ross says, what are your thoughts on Nami's Rouge and Roger's daughter theory? She and Ace would be the same age? No, come on. That's insane. No, I have nothing to say to that. I don't even believe that theory. That's just insane. That doesn't make sense. Jinho Wong says, if 5 acts, raid fail succeeds. If 3 acts, more raid fail in danger. Yeah, I mean, if it just turns out to be 3 acts, then that would just be like... That's a very weird way to... I don't know why Oda would even do that in terms of, like, story structure, because, like, Act 1 wasn't, like... Act 1 of Wano is more like a little prologue, right? Like, very little of Wano's plot develops in Act 1, so it's more like a prologue. And then Act 2 is, like, setup, and then Act 3 is kind of victory. So it's a little strange in that sense, in that it wouldn't fit with how Kabuki plays play out, or, like, One Piece arcs play out in general. But, like, I don't know. I think 5 acts is in my head, at least until proven otherwise. It does seem like that. Virgo is here. Virgo, what's up? How's it going, man? If it isn't Morge. Well. Yeah, man. I'm back to the bad stream setup. Look at me. I'm back to my shitty stream setup. I'm like you again. My streams got really good for a little bit. Ask the people here. They'll all tell you. The quality of the streams, top notch. But right now I'm back at the old house. My streams look shitty. Bad webcam, bad audio. Any thoughts on the Vince... DJ says, any thoughts on Vince Smoke's eyebrows resembling devil fruits? Judge did work with Vegapunk, you know. Any thoughts on Vince Smoke's eyebrows resembling devil fruits? I don't know about that. I think that's just a funny Sanji quirk. Yeah, Jinho Wong says, thanks to your parents' house. Classic Morge is best. Yep. Phantom Greyfarce is not even centered in frame. Stop slouching. But then if I sit back, this is how I would like to sit. In which case I'm facing this direction. So you guys are just like looking up at me like that. You want me to sit like this? I can't even read the fucking chat. Okay? What do you mean stop slouching? Do you want me to just look at this wall in front of me? I have to slouch for this stream to work. Prototype Vigor says, Morge, I'm gonna fuck you up one of these days. Yeah, bet, man. One of these days, that's for sure. Virgo, are you gonna go to Texas? Is that actually happening? Lucas Alibaba says Sanji gets Future Sight when? I don't know if Sanji's ever gonna get Future Sight. I do believe that Sanji will get Observation Hockey advancements, but like I don't know if it has to be in the direction of Future Sight. John Carl says, what do you consider a failure for the raid? If they're defeated here. I don't think it has to be like that complicated. Like, if they're defeated here, or if, like, they don't succeed in beating Kaido here. Virgo's like, I know your stroke game lacking, shake my head. Bad posture, chief. Bro, I could sit like this. I could sit like this. Stream would not go well. Appelina Tophead says, what if instead of learning about Nami's biological parents, we learn more about Bellemere? Like maybe Sura train with her and we learn more from there. I don't think that's that, what do you call it? That affects Nami that much. I know that Bellemere's are like her mother essentially, but you know, blood is just like a little bit different because in this specific case, because you know, it wouldn't exactly feel like it's Nami's lineage because she would never have met Bellemere's mother or anything like that. Whereas if we find out about Nami's parents, like biological parents, then like it wouldn't matter regardless of whether or not Nami ever met them. Virgo says, yeah, I'll be Texas. Morge, will you? I will, but for interesting reasons. I don't know if you know why. Tell you later. Mockal Jordan says, Sanji doesn't need Future Sight, he got Perf Sight. Yeah, exactly. Guys, I'm going to call this stream in probably 5-10 minutes since things are kind of dying down a little bit. But it's been a good one. There was a lot to talk about after this chapter. Loki Doki says, Bellemere fought at God Valley. If she did, then there's no way she's getting fucked up by Arlong. Young Master says, what happened to the fancy streamlights? I'm not at my house right now. I've traveled back to my parents' house for certain reasons. I'm going to be in my hometown for this week. So that's where I'm at right now, so there's no fancy lights. Also, thank you for calling them fancy streamlights. Most people are just like, Morge, change the light color. Change the light color. Change the light color. The lights are distracting. Get a better background. I'm like, the lights are nice. You guys should appreciate them. Bart here says, Morge, with your new Switch, play Breath of the Wild and Fire Emblem Three Houses. I don't know if I'm a Fire Emblem guy. I don't like those turn-based things that much, you know? But Breath of the Wild, I'm down. Probably buy it. I've mostly just been playing very basic games. I think I told you I've been playing Mario. Because Mario, you just don't think. You just jump around and do shit. Mario's so straightforward. It's very, very relaxing. After a long day of, like, you know, having to use your brain to, like, do stressful stuff, Mario's very relaxing. Oblong Polecat, thanks a lot. The only real issue I see with Kid is that his Devil Fruit would be so damn OP, like Magneto, and all he uses it for is to create an arm to punch people with. Yeah, dude, I mean, I think part of that is, look, at the end of the day, Oda likes his physical combat a lot. So lots of times, like, characters have, like, for example, look at characters like Ace. He's got fire abilities, can do all sorts of things with fire. His signature move is a punch, right? Whitebeard, Guru Guru no Mi, can create earthquakes and such. Signature move is a punch. Akainu can create magma. He's a living volcano. Signature move is a punch. Most characters, Oda likes to get them down to physical combat, and that's their main thing, right? He just gets them down to physical combat. So either they're swinging a sword, a club, their fists, whatever. That's what Oda generally likes to whittle things down to. So, I don't know. It makes sense for Kid based on the way Oda writes. I would love to see Kid in like a really cool mech suit or something, not necessarily the Punk Rotten. I think Punk Rotten looks cool, but like, maybe a cooler mech, that would be nice. Also, if he could get some fucking advanced Conquerors hockey, that would be pretty great. I don't know if that's going to happen. Christian Avery Griffin says, are you worried about the stakes/tension after Wano? Because between post-Wano and Final War, will anyone actually be a threat to the Straws? What comes after Yonko? So, I think we're fairly close to the end of the story after this, right? So really we just need the Final War stakes, and you can have villains like Blackbeard ascend past the current level of characters like Kaido and Big Mom. You can have Imu if you really wanted. You could have like Akainu unlock advanced conquerors. You can do other things to increase the stakes for the Final War. And between Wano and the Final War, I don't think we've got a lot. I think we've just got to fight Shanks, and I imagine Shanks would be roughly as strong or stronger than Kaido is right now. So it's basically, you know, it's a good matchup. Proboscis Monkey says, Morge, could he beat Kaido in a fistfight? I don't think so. I don't think I could beat Kaido in a fistfight. I'll give it to Kaido. Top 15Z says, Frankie and Kid team up. Why? That seems a little random. I guess because they're both mechs. Shinno Wong says, Morge, do you review once you watch it, please? I mean, it depends if I like the movie. I don't think I'm going to do something on it if I don't really like the movie that much, because I wouldn't be interested in... Because I don't really do movie reviews on that channel. I do more so, like... I want to do, like, the things I do are a little more in-depth video essays, right? And I wouldn't want to do a video essay on something that I don't really enjoy. Like, I wouldn't do something that's just, like, a video essay on, like... You know, just saying I didn't like this. So I would have to watch Dune and actually really like it to want to do something. Like, I like Squid Game quite a bit, so I'm going to do a video on Squid Game. So it's not just that Squid Game is popular, it's popular and I enjoyed it. Loki Dogi says, if you were given the opportunity to cameo in the live-action series, would you do it? I guess, like, maybe... part of me is like, I don't want to touch the live-action series with, like, you know, 10-foot pole, whatever the saying is, but, like... At the same time, you know, that'd be kind of cool. It's like, would I get to meet anyone? Kind of like, are there any famous actors there or something like that? Because what if the live-action series is a terrible flop? Then I wouldn't want to see my face in there. What if I get to meet some famous actors or, like, writers or something? Or if Oda's hanging around the set for some reason, for some wild reason, he travels over for the first day of the shoot. Hell yeah, I'd want to be in the live-action series. The party asks, Morge, is Squid Game depressing? Should I watch? It's on the more depressing side, but, like, there's some, optimism and positivity there, but it's not like, it's on the more depressing side of shows. It's a sadder show. It's on the more depressing side of shows, but it's not, you know, yeah, it's not, I think I would recommend watching it. I would just recommend watching it. I don't think... It's on the more depressing side for sure. I don't even know why I'm like trying to sugarcoat it. It's on the more depressing side. Morge for live action, Jinbei. Yeah, my favorite character, for sure. Loki Doki says Morge for Jin. If I got cast as Jin, I'd be so excited, because I'd be like, oh boy, I wonder if I'm ever... I get to look forward to every following season, because I can always hope for the opportunity of coming back. So every season's like a coin toss. I'm like, maybe this is the season where I come back. Then I just, keep hoping and hoping till the series ends. Yao Porto says, you once did a pretty cool analysis of a MarineFord panel where all the warlords are lining up. What are your other favorite single panels? Oh, that's from my Exaggerated World of One Piece video. MarineFord panel where all the warlords are lining up. Other favorite single panels are... Merlin's Beard says, you look sick. Are you okay, Morge? No, I'm just very tired today. I've had a very, very long... Because obviously I had to fly to get back to my hometown. So flight timings, etc., very early morning, low sleep, then had to get a lot done, basically work-wise, to make up for the missed time. So in the last couple days, very, very little in sleep. So I'm probably going to crash after the stream. Other favorite single panels. My favorite single panel in the story. That's a cool question. That's not what the question was, but that's what I'm going to kind of twist it into. I guess emotional moments, like I Want to Live and stuff. Nothing Happened, I think, is an amazing single panel. Even though he doesn't say nothing happened in that panel, I think the panel of Zoro All Bloody is really cool. I think my favorite panel might be the Luffy's... It's like a full double-page spread, which is the declaration of war on the world government, and it's like from behind Luffy's shoulder, that shot. I really like that. Steals Your Skills, Tio says, More your favorite episode from Squid Game, episode 6, like everybody else. Pretty much. I think I'm going to do one more good question and then kind of end it. Well, I'll do JP305s and then one more. When will you start talking about other ongoing anime/manga series? You have good theories, always bring up stuff I forget about. So I did have to make some decisions, right? Because you only have so much time. So I was like, I could start talking about other anime and manga. And then I thought about it, I was like, do I want to be mainly anime manga? I don't know. I don't think so. So then I decided to just make a second... If I was going to do other anime manga, I would probably talk about it on the Morge channel and try and expand that way. But I decided to do movies and TV shows because I think that's a little broader, higher audience, and kind of just greater variety. And I don't get stuck in a sort of cycle of just like talking about the same series over and over again. That way, the anime and manga that I enjoy, I can enjoy them for what they are rather than turning them into a job like One Piece has become. Still love One Piece, obviously, but like it's probably the only series I could talk about all the time over and over again. Logi Dogi says, mod tier list when? Logi Dogi begging to be ranked F tier. He's so excited for it. Mod tier list, I think I'll do on a fun day, like maybe if we do... I think it would have to be a day where it's like a more tighter stream, like no crazy chapter just came out or something like that, so it's more so just regulars who are normally here. So regulars who are more familiar with the mods. Because when a hype chapter comes out, all sorts of people come into the stream. But a mod tier list would be fun. Maybe we do it like the same day I do the Film Z stream, which will still happen. We'll see. We'll arrange a mod tier list. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, doing another channel. Yeah, so I did the movie and TV show channel, and that's basically what I'm going to mainly focus on at the moment. Maybe I'll start expanding the main One Piece Morge channel into other series as I go along, other anime and manga. But at the moment, that's kind of not in the next month or two, I don't see myself doing that. I think the Chainsaw Man anime would be Chainsaw Man anime, if that launches, I might jump on that and start doing some Chainsaw Man videos. Because that's the series that, if you do the ratio of like series, how much I like the series to how much good analytical content is out there on it right now, Chainsaw Man's probably number one. So I think that would be pretty cool. Brandon Lee says, hi, Morge, I've read Berserk. I'd love to see your take on it. R.I.P. Yeah, I've read Berserk. I really like Berserk. One of my favorite series for sure. I actually had plans for a long time to do a lot of Berserk videos. Mura died, and then, obviously less motivation because I'm never going to see how that series ends. There's already many Berserk videos out there. I've not seen a lot of the things that I want to talk about in other Berserk videos. So I have like a very long document. Actually, fun fact, I have a very long document about... Ever since I started the One Piece channel, now whenever I read other manga, I take notes on them. So I have a lot of notes for analysis for Berserk, Steel Ball Run, Vinland Saga, Chainsaw Man, Hunter x Hunter, right? I have a lot of notes for these other series, so I could do videos on them. It's just like the commitment to doing that, you kind of have to go like full in and basically be ready to try and turn your channel into a variety channel. Or just be like, I'm throwing a video out that will do poorly on the algorithm because it's not One Piece, and YouTube will treat it poorly because not all my regular viewers are clicking on it. So, that follow. So, Chainsaw Man is the first series I might like take the leap on, and if I do that right and it goes well, then I might start expanding to other series, and that'd be fun. I would like it. So, I'm gonna do one more question and then basically end it on that. Let me see. Phantom Greyfire says Vinland Saga hype. Yeah, I the first 100 chapters of Vinland Saga I loved. Super duper loved. Juno Wong says notes on them. Oh my god, I want to watch all of them now. Yeah, so in my, like, I think it's hard, like, the reason I do notes on them as I'm reading along is because, one, I feel like a lot of people don't do that, like other content creators. I think most content creators, in my opinion, my guess is, who do analysis type stuff, they go back and then try and, like, from the stuff they remember, they then try and construct videos and analysis, which I think is, like, the backwards way to do it. You want to do the notes as you go along, so then you can go back through all the notes, and then suddenly you've got, like, a wealth of material to go off of, and then a lot more things make sense. So I actually have, like, several video topics that I could go very in-depth on each of these series that I've not seen other videos about. So I have confidence in doing the videos on those. It's just the time that it would take, an investment, and would it be worth it, you know? Because I don't care that much that I'm like, I'm so passionate about Vinland Saga that I want to get a video out on this no matter what, no matter how much it negatively affects my One Piece channel and tanks the views. That's not the case. Chainsaw Man is the only series right now where I'm like, I really like this series, and like nobody's talking about why it's so good and a lot of the deeper elements of it. So that's a series that when the anime takes off and the timing's right, I might jump in and do a full-on analysis video on that. Based on how the Chainsaw Man analysis videos go, that might be a nice segue to start adding other anime manga to the pipeline, and then you might see a Vinland Saga analysis, Berserk, Steel Ball Run, etc. J-Man3304's Love says, do you think Smile will be cured in this arc? Yes, and I think it'll be cured by Chopper. Let me see if there's one more thing. Chubby Alonso says, Steel Ball Run is so repetitive for the most part. I do think Steel Ball Run is probably the most overrated, highly rated series that I know of, in terms of like manga series that people really, really put on a pedestal. But it is really good for like a lot of reasons. It's definitely by far the most overrated because Steel Ball Run is like really bad in certain points. Like really bad in certain points. It's just very, very good in other points. So it's just like, you know. Virgo is back. Well, I'm sure excellent contribution to the conversation. He says, hey Morge, huge fan here. Definitely believe that. He said, I heard Taekwon is now your big uncle. Is that true? Yeah, man. Unfortunately. I can't deny it. Unfortunately, Taekwon kind of sunned me in our 1v1. It's a dark time on the Morge stream. I don't deny it. Taekwon got the W. Alright, let me get one more question that's not from Virgo. Virgo's questions don't count. Being in it says, Morge, do you think the anime makes Luffy look very weak? I don't watch the anime. I mean, I know that it made him struggle with Batman, so sure. But then on the other hand, it made it look like he had a better shot against Kaido in Act 1, so it balances out both ways, right? What's a good question? Alright, I'll just go with being in it. Straightforward question. He said, Morge, you think... No, we just did that one. Man, my eyes are glazing over. Sorry, I'm just tired. Elementary says, you're tripping. Steel Ball Run is a 10. It's like, yeah, sure, if we're reading things out of, like, 15 or something like that. You know what's really funny to me about Steel Ball Run? You know what's really, really funny to me about Steel Ball Run? People will read it, and I can defend all of my stances on Steel Ball Run very well. At least if you, like, I need to do like a bit of a recheck, kind of probably go through notes and such a little bit, because like I take things seriously. Like if I'm reading a manga that's highly acclaimed and I'm like, I could use this for the channel, I could potentially do videos on this, I treat it very seriously. So I read very carefully, take a lot of notes, put a lot of time thinking into like, and going over quotes and things like that, right? So I know I can defend all my opinions on Steel Ball Run. What's funny is I'll talk to people who are like huge Steel Ball Run fans, who like gas it up to no end, and who are like, this is God's greatest gift to man. And I'll ask like basic questions, like, okay, what was your interpretation of the true man's world, right? I forget exactly how the name is pronounced, but like Ringodan, you know, that guy, first great stand battle in Steel Ball Run. Great stand battle, pretty cool. Very memorable for sure, one of the more memorable scenes in Steel Ball Run, right? And I understand why people like it a lot, right? But I feel like a lot of people like Steel Ball Run because it feels more nuanced or more, you know, I guess you could say sophisticated in certain ways. But a lot of people don't have like actual interpretations or understandings of that series, right? So I feel like a lot of the Steel Ball Run hype comes from like empty fluff or substance, because I can ask people, tell me about the true man's world, how that fits into the ideas of the rest of the series, why that scene was important to the rest of the series, and don't just tell me it was cool. Don't just tell me why it was cool. Explain to me that scene and how it fits into the broader context, right? People can't do it. People literally can't do it. Steel Ball Run fans are like people who have their heads up their asses, who are just like, we like Steel Ball Run because we're fucking smart. And, you know, and like, you know, it's just, there's no other series like Steel Ball Run. You know, I've never read another work like it. It's like 9 out of 10 times, you're just putting on a face. Ringo wrote again. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know how shitty people are when I, like, like, you know how shitty people are when they come to actually trying to explain certain aspects of Steel Ball Run? It's really bad. And I hate some people's arguments for it. I don't know why I'm shit. I end up shitting on Steel Ball Run because it's the most overrated. I still think it's really good. I think it's the most overrated of the generally high-related manga series. I think it's still really good and worth talking about for a lot of reasons. But yeah, Ryan Slensky says, it was cool though, to be honest. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, and people give the weakest reasons. They're like, Steel Ball Run is really good because the characters are more developed and they're just better written than any other JoJo part before it. And it's like, yeah, but the bar for that in JoJo's was in the fucking dirt. JoJo's was never like a series about very well-written characters. So yeah, the characters in Steel Ball Run, there's a lot more attention paid to it in terms of character development, character arcs. There's a lot more ideas going on there compared to JoJo's. Compared to the past series of JoJo's. That doesn't mean it's like the best shit ever. Yeah, Dirty Deed done dirt cheap. Cool shit. 8 out of 7 out of 10. I mean, I don't like doing stuff like that rating shit, because like it's just tricky. If I had to give it my personal ratings on my values and like the things I like out of stories, and like where I kind of say like, okay, it's got this many holes in my opinion from my perspective to this many good things, I consider Steel Ball Run like a 9. But then people come at me and they're just like, it's the best manga of all time. It's like, you're a fucking moron. Vinsmoke Perp says, lol, you sound like a hater right now, to be honest. Yeah, probably, because like, it's more so considered like this. It's a hater. I'm a hater of Steel Ball Run fans. I'm a hater of Steel Ball Run fans because they're so annoying. So notice when I said the Ringo Rotigan thing, right? I didn't say that the True Man world doesn't like fit in with the general ideas of Steel Ball Run, or that Steel Ball Run doesn't construct some excellent broader ideas. I'm just saying that when I ask Steel Ball Run fans basic shit, like shit that you should be easily able to respond to, like Ringo Rotigan was a major part of, like a major highlight of that series, and I'm like, okay, tell me why you like that part. Like, explain to me a little bit more. Explain to me like how this plays into this. There's nothing there, and that's just one example. You can do it for other aspects of Steel Ball Run. Right, and it's just like, no, I like Steel Ball. It's just so, you know, the morality is gray, bro. It's like, dude, I'm a hater of Steel Ball Run fans. All right, yeah, and that's totally fine. You can be a hater of One Piece fans. You know, you can be a hater of One Piece fans to a degree. You can be a hater of any series' fan base, and the fan base doesn't represent the series, but the fan base can skew your opinions of that series. You know what I mean? I'm very interested in Part 8 because Part 8 is mystery, and I love mystery. And I liked Steel Ball Run a lot. So if Part 8 continues the writing trends of Steel Ball Run and then puts it into, mystery format and kind of approaches things like a little differently and tightens up a few things that like I didn't love about Steel Ball Run, then I could see Part 8 being my favorite part. But that's basically it. Okay. So in defense of Steel Ball Run, Steven Brasena says, I'm in chapter 30 of Steel Ball Run and it hasn't gripped me yet. Does it get way better? Yeah, that's another thing about Steel Ball Run. The first third, it's not that good. And I'm not trying to say that, like, being a hater, I think most people acknowledge that it's not that good. I'm trying to say that, like, it does get way better. I think the first third is relatively basic, and then the series gets way better. I'm, again, not trying to say that as a hater. It's the same way I would say, like, yeah, first few arcs of One Piece, not that good, but, like, hit Arlong Park or something, and it's going to get way better from there. All right, guys. Botniner says, do you think Sanji's OP now? Fire, invisible, regeneration, flying, invulnerable. I mean, like, you can list those things, but, like, it kind of just comes down to, like, who you beat. Like, Law had a million abilities, and then Doflamingo just spanked him, so, like, and Doflamingo had a million abilities, and then Luffy was just fucking buff in Gear 4th and beat the shit out of him. So, like, we kind of just gotta wait and see how Sanji does from here. I think that, at the very least, it's a good look. But, like, I wouldn't just go off of the ending of this chapter and just be like, Sanji's going to wreck Queen from here on out. So I do expect it to still be some level of let's see how much difficulty he has with Queen going on from here. This was the hype moment to introduce the incoming power-up. Anime Devil Hunter asks a great question. Who's your favorite JoJo? Joseph is the GOAT. Joseph would be my favorite if he had more, because Part 2 is so short. Part 2 is so short, and then in Part 3, they didn't really make him look good. He would have been my favorite no matter what. It's just that Part 3, they didn't make him look good. It felt like, I wish they treated him with a little more respect in Part 3. My favorite JoJo is actually Jotaro. My favorite JoJo is Jotaro. And I didn't even like Jotaro at first. It just takes so long to warm up to Jotaro. And then over time, you just realize, like, this is just the way he is. He's not going to change that much. He's just this guy. Like, he's that dude from the very beginning. I don't think Jotaro's, like a super complex character or something like that. I just like Jotaro. Jotaro's cool. And he just grows on you over time. It's a mix because Johnny is also such a great character. Johnny's easily the best written JoJo out of all the JoJos that I've seen. And Johnny's probably the most compelling character in... Yeah, I think in JoJo's in general... In JoJo's in general, I think Johnny's the most compelling character. It's a toss-up. Maybe on a different day, I'd say Johnny. It's just like, okay, Johnny, Joseph, Jotaro. Joseph, my like for Joseph was the peak. Like, I liked him the most, probably for what he was at his time. It's just that over the course of the series, he makes up such a small sliver of the series and isn't really... He's kind of, like, treated poorly for the rest of the series, Jotaro, just the impact he has over time, and, like, he grows on you. He's just the dude. He's just the main JoJo. Johnny, most compelling character story, character arc. It's a toss-up, but I guess, like, I'd say generally Jotaro is probably my favorite. That's basically it. Alright. Johnny's a really cool character. As much as I've said negative things about JoJo's, it's mostly about JoJo's fans. JoJo's fans, particularly Steel Ball Run fans. Johnny's a really, really great character. One of the best characters I've ever read a story about. Okay? Gyro and Johnny, amazing duo. One of the best duos you'll ever read about. Alright? Not much else to say there. I'm going to end the stream. Nice talking to you all. Oh, wait. Lulo Meg asked a great question at the end. Who's better, more LeBron or Michael Jordan? I think in terms of pure player ability, in my opinion, I feel like LeBron James is probably a slightly better... We'll never know the answer to this. I feel like in pure player ability, like if you transported LeBron back to Jordan's era, I think LeBron is a slightly better basketball player, more well-rounded, not as good of a scorer. Let's say Jordan's the best scorer of all time, maybe. But I do feel like LeBron has just got a slight edge as an overall player, okay? But I think that is a product of players getting better over time. The average player getting better over time. Athleticism going up, player skill sets getting more and more fleshed out, and you're having everybody has to have more parts to their skill set over time. So I think LeBron, just by virtue of like being 20 years later, I think he is slightly better than Michael Jordan. I think Jordan is the greatest of all time because you have to look at what you did in your era, right? You have to look at what you did in your era relative to your competition. So I think relative to his competition, Jordan was further ahead of his competition than LeBron was from his competition. I think LeBron is the second greatest player of all time. LeBron is also my favorite player of all time. I think, like, in terms of pure basketball ability, just as a natural evolution of the game, 20 years after Jordan, a guy came along that's better. It's just that the whole game, the whole field also got better, and LeBron's not necessarily further ahead of his opponent, of his era than Jordan was of his era. So that's it. If Jordan was transported to today's era and had access to all of the, analytics, improved knowledge, worked more on three-point shooting, better nutrition, better conditioning, better athleticism, took care of his body like LeBron and stuff, then I could see if Jordan had to grow up in today's game with all the advantages LeBron has, maybe he would be even better than LeBron. But I'm saying if you just took the two of them as they were at their primes and had them play together, I think LeBron would be a slightly better player. Because LeBron has grown up in a more advanced era with better sports science, etc. And it is what it is. Thanks for the final donation. And, maybe people just don't like that. I'm a LeBron fan. What else do you want me to say? That's basically it. All right, and I'll talk to you all later.